tried to have THX that. So if you start high and come down, and I start low and come up,
we would have needed to practice,
right? I would have.
And all we did was like look at each other and then like go.
We'd have to like land right, like
Yeah.
We would find the right pitch because we were naturally gravitating towards the same pitch.
We naturally gravitate towards each other. Yeah,
it's true.
It's weird. Funny how that happens.
Beam.
So Paul's not here.
Yeah, because he could have been the third note in that sucker. That would have been.
Oh, that would have
pretty
been really good.
Yeah.
We should remember that for another time.
Yep. It's a good thing we practice these things on like these. We practice these offline, so when we actually do have ChillPoint, that we can have we can let him in on the whole.
Everything you're seeing right now is happening offline.
Yeah.
None of this is real.
Oh, I didn't know OBS did that with the audio mixer. That if you have a channel muted, it grays out the view meter, so you can tell that audio's not going. That's actually really good design. I like that quite a bit. Yeah.
So welcome to ChillPoint.
There's not much in the way of gaming
the
news.
Show that's supposed to be about talking about Checkpoint, which we're not going to do.
This week's Checkpoint.
There was none. And it's supposed to be about talking about gaming news, which we're also not likely to do.
There was one, though, that I just saw this morning.
Is it one you actually want to talk about, or are you just... Okay.
This is...
Because I refuse to talk about any gaming news we don't actually want to talk about.
Yeah. This made it to Ars Technica. They're still writing stuff because they're under the same problem that we have, where you have to...
somehow do things.
Where you have to like keep writing stuff over the holiday season because people need to keep reading stuff. So Ashley Belanger wrote this. I'm gonna kind of catch you up on it real fast. YouTuber won DMCA fight. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
With a fake Nintendo lawyer by detecting the spoofed email. So the crux of this is...
YouTube sucks.
Yeah, YouTube sucks. We run into this problem occasionally. We know that the copyright and the content management system on YouTube generally always it always leans in the side of the person reporting it, right?
Yes.
If you report a copyright incident, then you're basically going to be like,
it's just bad.
Yeah, you're basically saying I have all the power here because clearly I'm the one saying I own the content. And as content creators, as people who make stuff, right? As people who are creatives, who are people who are like filmmakers and stuff.
So many words I don't like.
Yeah, but as people who make as filmmakers, if somebody came along and took RoadQuest and put it on their channel and tried to pass it off as their own, then naturally if they got a copyright strike because it matched something that we already put up, then I'm in favor of that because I wouldn't want them to...
That's a fairly easy one.
I wouldn't want them to just go ahead and steal RoadQuest.
Usually this stuff from other companies and whatnot is done through a...
Content ID matching.
Yeah, it's through a different system that I don't think we have access to personally.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. If YouTube even looks at what's on your channel and says, like, oh, I see that you match something that I already have up on my channel somewhere else. I don't know if they give a shit about that. I think that your stuff has to be fed into a system. Who knows? I'm not really sure how it works.
There's a couple ways it works. There's like an automatic one, and you can tell when those happen because they hit your video before you even publish it, and it's very fast.
Sure.
And then there's the one where there's like that we do kind of have access to, where if it matches another video or something, there is like a back end thing you can kind of look at and you can poke at and say, I did this is definitely mine, or something like that.
So
this story
is that there's a German YouTuber who has broadcasted playthroughs of... I'm very sorry. I'm basically going to just crib your thing while I relate the story. A German YouTuber who broadcasted playthroughs of popular games for 17 years, name of Dominik Neumeier, or Dom Tendo, which is I always thought was a very different thing. YouTube had removed some channels from video. Sorry, YouTube removed some videos from his channel that were centered on The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This is a very recent thing, right? Those removals came after a pair of complaints were filed under the DMCA and generated 2 strikes.
Yeah.
and 3 strikes and you're out, right? You
Yeah,
lose your
so
channel.
strike is more than just a takedown.
Yeah, but the thing is that Dominic Neumeier looked at the DMCA takedown request because it was like, well, Nintendo generally doesn't send out this style of request to fan channels, right? They generally don't go after like you if you're doing a Let's Play. They're not. According to what I'm seeing in the article here, it's like, yeah, that doesn't happen that often that they will go after
Straight
Let's Plays and stuff.
Not usually.
Yeah. It's the article itself says, while Nintendo has been known to target YouTubers with DMCA takedowns, it has generally historically took no issues with accounts like this one. So it makes sense. So the requests were signed by Tatsumi Masaaki, Nintendo Legal Department, Nintendo of America. But the second of the 2 requests came from a personal account and an encrypted email service, Tatsumi Masaaki at protonmail.com.
Oh, yeah, there's no way that's real.
And so Neumeier looked into this and was like, well, hey, that's not great. His videos were reinstated briefly, but the guy came after him again. Whoever is on the other end of this came after him again. And so then Neumeier was like, I'm going to take this stuff down. And then kept looking into it, got a hold of The Verge, got a hold of Nintendo, and was like, can we get some answers here? And Nintendo was very like, we're not going to comment and talk and do. And it's like big companies will do that, right? They won't just come right like, oh, shit, you're being wronged. You know, they won't just come right out and be on your side about things. But after they looked into it more, they're like, yes, we can confirm that there's a Masaaki, there's a Tatsumi Masaaki who works as a lawyer for us in Japan.
Yeah.
But does not work for Nintendo of America, works for Nintendo Japan Limited. As I'm reading this article, this is how I'm getting all this together, and so they kept getting messages, and that's like, oh, you're going to be like, we're going to do all these terrible things to you. Neumeier eventually ended up looking at the because he got an email from Tatsumi Masaaki at Nintendo.com, or from a Nintendo address, right? And looked into the headers and found out that, oh, you used a program to spoof the email headers, because you can do that with email.
Sure.
It's not hard to do. It's something that the reason why we have things like secure mail and like SMIME and like all these kind of
never
things.
talk to anyone.
Yeah, the reason we have these things set up to be like, we can confirm this came from this place. That's why establishing these kind of chains through email is important. And they looked into it and they're like, oh, I see that you spoofed that email though, and it did not come from Nintendo servers, and you even used this tool to do it. So yeah, they went after them for that, and I guess YouTube had relented and let this stuff stay online.
Yeah, I mean,
canceled the copyright claims, and I'm like, cool. So what about the rest of us? It's the question, right? That it's like, and also apparently this kind of thing has been going on since 2018 or so. Like these emails that come out from different places.
Absolutely.
So this is probably incredibly prevalent, and it's not just it's not just people faking being Nintendo. It's people faking being everybody.
Yeah.
And you kind of run into these problems. You're like, I guess I'll just take my stuff down so I don't run into this problem, or I'll leave my stuff up, but then I'm not monetizing it anymore, and they're taking my money from me. And the scam is deep.
Just to clarify, there are some differences in the way that YouTube works, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I got copyright struck by YouTube, and that's not generally what they mean. Because that term usually means the DMCA takedown. You actually got a strike on your account.
Yeah.
But people will say it when they mean that the video got blocked. If the video's been, and the video can be blocked on top of that, but if the video's just been outright blocked, generally you haven't gotten a strike,
right,
or takedown notice, because being blocked doesn't necessarily mean you're being blocked everywhere. There's also demonetization,
right,
which is generally actually what happens. You generally get demonetized more than anything else.
Now, is that because the person landing a strike, not a copyright strike, but like basically saying we're demonetizing your video, they're saying we're demonetizing it in that we are taking that money for us.
Yeah. In the idea that you're not getting the money for that, somebody else is getting the money for that.
Yeah.
And again, that's why that's the more prevalent one
Yeah,
because they're still making money off of the thing.
Yeah, you can leave up your stuff all
Blocked
you want.
videos, generally, when we get videos that are blocked, it's usually it's been for like Sidewalk Slam for the wrestling content.
Yeah.
Or it's been for certain songs get played and they'll get blocked. The video will get blocked in Russia or Japan.
Right.
That happens a lot for Rhythm Cafe,
Yes.
actually. There's certain songs that I'm assuming they've decided their country should not be allowed to hear.
Right.
And then yeah, then you get the strike on top of that. But like if you get 3 strikes, your channel just gets downed.
Yep.
But again, a lot of people will use the term copyright strike when they mean their video has just been blocked or demonetized.
Right.
It's why I keep trying to tell people not to use that term unless that's actually what's happened.
Yeah.
Because it's a much
It's a
graver
very different
consequence,
Yeah.
and it's the one that you should actually be scared of.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's hard because I mean the word strike is a very easy thing to say, to just be like, oh, we got a strike, and it's like, do you mean a copyright strike? And it's like, no, a demonetization strike. It's like, that's not really, don't use that word to refer to that. It's not great to do that because it's
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
it doesn't
getting
mean
your
the same thing,
video
so,
remonetized is generally also a pain,
Yeah.
but it's not quite the same thing. Yeah. And also the Twitch system is different from the YouTube system.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't
Which
look
is-
like that way because I'll see it all the time in the Discord where someone will be like, "Oh, there's a muted section on this VOD," and it's like
Right.
that really won't matter because if it'll go to YouTube,
Yeah.
it'll either not be muted, or it'll get demonetized, possibly for a completely different section of the video, but it'll
Yeah.
still be visible. So
I was watching a video recently where the person in question, the host in question, had talked about how it's like, oh, being on YouTube sucks because you get nailed with like the copyright strikes like all the time. You know, if you're playing copyright music and stuff, you get nailed with copyright strikes all the time, which means you can't monetize your videos and like this kind of thing. That's why, you know, I put all my stuff on this other service, and we don't have to worry about that. And I'm kind of
Well-
like, you don't have to worry about it right now.
no, I mean not for now, but if that service gets bigger, then
Yeah.
people will turn their eyes on it. I mean, you used
At
to be
some
able
point-
to kind of play whatever you wanted on Twitch, and nobody cared.
Yeah, YouTube was the
For a
same way.
long
For a
time.
very long time, YouTube was the same way. It's like, play whatever you want. Nobody gives a crap about
And
what's in the
as-
background of your
yeah.
videos. Yeah.
The bigger something gets, the more people start to care, or at least notice. Right?
Yeah.
It's like fan projects on the internet. If no one's paying attention, chances are the fan project will keep happening. And then someone's like, "Hey, look at this cool thing."
Yeah.
A lot of people see it, and then it gets taken down.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the crux of this essentially is that the scams are real. They happen a lot, and
Also, there's just false positives.
there's false positives as well, right?
Not every one of them is a scam.
And that YouTube needs to continue to try to do more to fix its systems to work for the benefit of the people who are creating content for their platforms.
Or because the system
Putting that
just
out
doesn't
there.
work. This happened to Toby Fox. That's the Undertale guy. A couple years ago, got told to put their music into the system so that other people couldn't pretend to be them to do takedowns of videos. They did that, and then the system automatically basically hit everybody's videos, and that was not the intention of why they wanted to do that. So they literally told everybody to who had any of it happen to fight back on that, and that they would let it through. But that's like,
Yeah.
they were told to do it for this reason, and that's not how the system really works.
Yeah. It's funny, right? You put
Yeah, like,
you put that
right?
out there. You're like, oh, if you do this, it'll be great because then everybody can just have it, and you can just say I'm okay with anybody having it, unless I'm not okay with somebody having it. It's like, right, but the system works it works on denial. It
Well, I'm
doesn't-
okay with everybody
yeah.
having it, but I need to let people know that I'm the one who has it, so that somebody else doesn't come in and say that they're the one who has it and they don't want other people to have it.
There is that too, yeah.
Right? Like that's, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm convinced nobody actually works at YouTube. I'm convinced it's all robots. There's maybe 3 people, and one of them's a janitor.
Molly brings up the Cameron and Ian Christmas. They would get knocked from time to time because we'd have a fire
So
playing,
the,
right?
the marathon got a bunch of chunks muted on Twitch.
Right. It's happened in previous years, I think, too. Whenever we were doing the streaming,
Yeah,
because the
but
VODs will continue to get
the
nailed.
marathon itself
Yeah,
had random chunks
yeah,
that got muted.
because it's matching it against the crackles of the fire video they're playing behind them.
Sure.
Yeah,
But it should mute all of them. Should mute the whole video.
from one end to the other.
Yeah,
Why?
because it's the same video.
Oh, I
The
thought
same
it was,
fire crackle,
I
isn't
thought
it?
it was. I thought it was different. I thought it was different fires most years.
I mean, I think a fire crackle.
I mean,
sounds the
this
same.
year they were in front of an actual real fire, so I would dare anybody to try.
Well, that
to,
one didn't. Yeah,
I would
but
dare anyone to try to
again,
do that.
this is being talked about the marathon, so it's like over
Yeah.
several year period. It's
Yep.
like a 9-hour VOD.
Yep.
Also, all of those are available on the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
In case you really need that sound. As far as I know, they're all audible.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think of the word for seeing sound. Am I paused there?
Synesthesia,
No. Audible.
which is brings us to our next thing. Thank you to Audible.com
No.
for sponsoring
No,
our
stop it.
ChillPoint.
No fake sponsors.
Audible's a real sponsor for people.
But they're not our sponsor.
Oh well, it's too bad. They should do that.
No, stop that. That's no. You should be a responsible content creator if you're going to be one. Do not do that. There are certain lines you should not cross.
Well,
I will kick you out of this room and talk to chat by myself. It's not hard to do.
okay, we will be responsible and we will never advertise
You can
with
do
Audible.
so many things you want, but fake sponsorships, I will not allow them.
All right. What else has gone on? I'm
It's
just
been a whole year.
looking at things on screens in front of me to try to figure out. Are we? We didn't strictly say what the because we're obviously can't talk about this week's checkpoint. But what we can do is
We can talk about this week's checkpoint. It didn't happen.
Yeah, we did not
There's
do
just
one
not a lot to say about it.
at this point. Yeah, and that's okay. And there won't be one next week either, and that's also okay. So, are we going to run down our top 10 favorite ChillPoint moments? Are we going to?
The one where it happened. The one where I wasn't around.
Yeah, it's always a miracle whenever a ChillPoint happens.
You're going to expect me to remember what happened in ChillPoint over the past year?
I largely don't remember what happened on ChillPoint the week before. So, yeah.
Well, based on what I saw, you and Paul couldn't remember the year 2025 existed.
It's kind of great.
So,
Yeah.
that one.
We weren't even in 2025 yet, so we had no reason to feel weird about that.
You're going to be in 2025 soon. Don't
Yeah.
you feel like the future's about to happen?
A little bit? I mean, I kind of always feel like the future's about to happen.
Yeah, but like 2025 is like one of those like
When I get there,
it's the 80s and
It
in the year
never
2025 science and future.
science and future.
Science and future.
I wouldn't mind some science and future. That wouldn't be so bad.
You wouldn't mind some science and future?
But we should look back
Yeah.
because everybody's
looking forward.
year-end stuff. Yeah.
We could all die tomorrow. Let's look back.
Yeah, the past is always like visible to us. So why don't we talk about the past?
It
That's
sounds so scary.
What's the funny thing
the
about
past is always visible
That's
to
the funny
you.
thing about life, right? Is it's like everybody everyone like looks forward to the future, but you can't see anything in the future. But what you can always see is the past, and it's really weird because it's like we're running backwards the whole time.
Yeah,
So
and-
we're always constantly doing this. And I don't know what clever writer put that in a book first or whatever, but yeah, it's clearly been commented on a lot, and I'm like, that is really weird when you think about it.
That looking back is walking backwards. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about looking at the streetlights.
All right, the Eurofighter Typhoon, one of their systems got dropped again in War Thunder. That's a piece of news. It's always a piece of news whenever War Thunder has to reset the clock.
They have to do that like daily, though.
It's practically daily. Right, the radar manual. Thank you, Jaded
I'm
Cynic.
not sure that's news anymore.
So yeah,
I'm sure that's things that just happen.
what did you want to run down? Because
All
you have
I-
a book.
All I did was I over the year I write down the games that I get credits on. So I have like a list of 37 games I managed to take credits on this year.
Oh, okay. So this isn't whether you liked the game or not. It's whether you played it till you saw the credits.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I say I don't keep a list of any of that stuff. You're just going to
You
start.
can remember.
Do I even remember the games that I played this year?
Yeah, what did you play this year? Do you even know?
Yes.
Oh,
I played some Fallout.
that's true.
I know I did that. Never
There's proof of that.
didn't hit credits on that, I don't think.
I'm surprised you didn't just bring your Switch.
Yeah, I suppose I could have. Well, I did the Nintendo year in review thing.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, yeah, we could talk about that if you want.
Yeah, I could actually even just go look it up and just go through the stuff there. But like, I remember my most played game this year was Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, and that's just because that was like 71
A long
hours.
game.
And the second most game that I played this year was Saints Row 3, the full package, because I got a copy of that used, so I could finally. Which is funny because I played Saints Row 4 first. Thanks, Graham. Because I watched him play a bit of that, and it was like, this game looks amazing, and I don't know if I'd be any good at it. And then when it came out for Switch, I got a copy for like $2 because it was on sale digitally for like incredibly cheap. And then I was like, well, then I'll play Saints Row 3, which is fun because Saints Row 4 and Saints Row 3 happen on the same map. But Saints Row 4 is a virtual version of where you are actually in Saints Row 3. So you're playing in like a computer simulation in Saints Row 4. So it's like I actually did the simulator first, and then I played the real version next. And then and I had fun with both of them. They were both very goofy. Saints Row 4 I thought was even goofier. I enjoyed it even more because it was just straight up way too goofy. But then, and I didn't have to care too much about like running people off the road because, you know, they weren't real people. But in Saints Row 3, they're all real people. And then the third game I played the third most amount of hours was Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. So that was my top 3 in terms of how much I played, and I enjoyed all 3 of them.
And you liked Echoes of Wisdom. I believe you've been saying that's been like your game of the year.
I think it would of what I played this year would be my game of the year.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed it an awful lot. You know, I wouldn't put Fallout as my game of the year. Just because I'm like, I think when a game is that old and you've played it, it's like I would have a hard time saying that that's the game that I would pick for the year.
I count the way I always do my game of the year is generally like out of the games I've played for the first time. If I'm doing a replay,
Right.
I generally won't count that. I don't replay things a ton.
I think I liked. I think ultimately I liked Echoes of Wisdom more because I liked how charming it was.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah. You know, I think that it was, in terms of gameplay depth, it's not the deepest, but it gave me all the things that I loved about 2D top-down Zeldas. And I was like, this is actually...
I had a lot of fun with it. The only thing I didn't really care for it was... I felt like being in the dungeons... Like, the dungeons themselves were fine.
Yeah.
I love the mechanic of kind of, like, brute forcing dungeons when I don't know what the game wants me to do.
Sure.
And you end up doing silly things sometimes when, especially I do, because I overthink a puzzle.
Right.
And having your overthinking work out when in every other game it doesn't because the door's like right beside you and you're like, no, I'm going through the window. It's still pretty fun.
Yeah.
But going through the dungeons and finding treasure chests that just had smoothie ingredients in them felt kind of like a letdown to me.
Yeah.
I just didn't really...
Yeah.
Once that started happening, I was like, oh, if I have all the keys and I can get to the thing, I don't care about going and finding this other treasure chest that's just going to give me a little bit of extra cash or a smoothie ingredient.
That's fair. I mean, I wanted to see what everything was because you end up in some of those little caves and you're like, oh, a new accessory. And I'm like, oh, no. I actually don't know how many accessories there are in this game.
Yeah,
I don't know what the changes are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just like, nope, don't care. I actually started getting mad at getting golden eggs.
Oh, yeah, me
I was
too,
like,
right?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Whatever.
another golden
Like,
egg. Another thing that the only reason I liked getting golden eggs ultimately is that I was like, I don't have to stress about, like when I got my first one, I'm like, oh, that seems valuable. And then when I got like my third one, I'm like, okay, so if I wanted to crack one, I can do that, but they're too valuable. And then when I got my 15th, I was like, it's okay if I spend one of these
They're a
now.
little bit more rare, but
Yeah.
they're not really that. Yeah. I get that. But eventually I just found them annoying because I was like, ooh.
I did all this work. Yeah. You have to kind of revel in the puzzle then, I think is the thing, is that you're like, I'm here to get the chest. It doesn't matter what's in it. I'm here to figure out, to crack the puzzle so I can get the chest. I spent more time in that game. I think the reason why I spent so much time in that game is because you could stack beds on top of each other and jump on top of trees and run around the tops of trees. And I'm like, because you could do stuff like that, it was like you were no longer limited to what the game was telling you where you could and could not go. So I was like I was in a small little cave or room or whatever that had ruins inside of it, and I was stacking beds to see how high I could get up in the room until I got to a point where I jumped and my head hit the ceiling and I couldn't go any further back, and I was like, there is nothing beyond this. They modeled all of this so that there would be something to show you, but there's nothing beyond this point. So there's no point in going
there's
that way.
that.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't care much for was the end boss fight.
Oh no.
Because for me, well, okay, let me back up. I hated the fact that they kept calling it Prime Energy.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I didn't like that. I was very annoyed every time they did it.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why, and I don't like it, and I will never like it.
Yeah.
So there's that. But the the story I didn't mind. I actually thought the story was kind of fun once it actually gave the story to me, because for the first beginning parts of the game, you spend a lot of time just being like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Right. And then at some point the game's like, by the way, this is what the villain is. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I don't mind a non-Ganon story.
Sure.
Ganon's a lot more fun because you know him a lot.
There's
more,
an animosity there that's been built over years.
Yeah, so you got like a lot going on for that if you're already a fan.
Yeah.
But just the end boss fight to me felt a lot like, because spoilers, you rescue Link, so all of your extra powers of being able to use a sword and stuff, even the special meter, are gone because you give him his stuff back.
Yeah.
So to me, it just felt like I was spamming echoes and then spending most of my time dodging.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not an interesting fight.
Right. I was largely ignoring what Link was doing in that part.
I mean,
of the game
there's no reason to
yeah.
to pay attention to what he's doing, because he can't. He doesn't. If he gets hit, nothing happens to him. Really.
Yes, exactly.
He's not going to die. It's not like a weird escort mission where you're like, I have to make sure he doesn't die.
Yes.
I just felt like I was just spending all my time dodging more than anything. For me, that was kind of boring.
Yeah. Whereas when I was playing it, I was like, I liked like watching what was going on and trying to make sense of like, how do I interact with this? How do I, like, what am I going to do to, the more interesting boss fight I think in that game was the one where in the Ice Palace, where you had the weird golem thing you were fighting that was like fire and ice.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you had to figure out like, how do I interact? I just basically used the whiz robes all the time whenever I needed to. Like when I was fighting the Goma that you shock, I just pull out the electric whiz robe and zap it, and it was like, that's the thing to do in this point, is to do that. And the changing back and forth to sword fighter mode, I found frustrating, because I'm like, and now I have to smack I have to take my thumbs off where I'm doing stuff to smack the D-pad to do the thing, so I can get. And I'm like, I just had to stop walking around to do this. Like taking your thumb off of your movement stick in a game where you're supposed to be moving around a lot is really, like, it's discouraging. It's like, I had to do this thing, but otherwise it's like, it was all right.
Overall, I like the game. It's cute.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see another 2D-esque Zelda game, or rather a smaller scope Zelda game.
There's that too,
because that means that those can still exist.
Yeah.
It's been, because I think the last one we had was
Link Between Worlds.
Technically, I think Triforce Heroes, but Link Between Worlds, which came out on the 3DS, and it was like over 13 years ago or something, maybe longer.
I feel like the benefit of Echoes of Wisdom, other than it's like, let's also now introduce Zelda as a playable character, which I'm like, thank Christ you finally did that. But the other benefit of it was we slightly smaller map feel, something that is very much like Link to the Past, but we will make it more explorable, and we can imbue it with more interesting things to find. If they had done something like, it's Breath of the Wild, but you play as Zelda, I'd be here for that. I absolutely would be. but as a thing to like consume, I'd be like, well, I'm going to be at this for another 200 hours kind of idea, you know, and whereas this is like, oh, this was good. This was 44 hours worth of gaming, and I felt very satisfied by the amount of time I spent doing it. And I'm like, I hope that encourages Nintendo to be like, we can do another open world game if we want to, and maybe we let Link and Zelda trade off in the stuff they can be doing. And
Well, and this was done by Grezzo, I think, who typically does like the remakes for a lot of Zelda stuff.
yeah,
But like Grezzo does good work,
yeah, absolutely.
right? So it's nice to see them make get to make a game that's not technically a remake, but a new one.
Yeah.
Because I think that the last one that I know that they made that was their own was Ever Oasis,
Yeah, that game was so good.
which honestly should probably get a remake and be
should
brought
get a
up to
remake.
Switch
Yeah, I won't
But-
probably not play
or
it,
whatever
but-
the next thing is.
Yeah.
Not for you. You've already
No.
played it. I know you're not really into
Okay.
that, but I think more people should have played it.
So Heather got me video games for Christmas.
I did.
Yeah, I didn't. I get her video games for Christmas. But prior to Christmas, I was like, I want to play a game, I think, but I don't know what to play, and I don't want to sit down with any of the stuff that I have out already. I didn't want to play more Bowser's Fury, even though I'm probably like about 6 hours away from finishing it.
The game's only 6 hours long if you want 100% it, dude.
Yeah, and so then, and I do, so, because you can, and so you left the room and came back with your copy of The Cruel King and the Great Hero, which you played on your home stream.
Yep.
And so I've been playing that, and that has a similar kind of feel to me as Echoes of Wisdom, and I think it's like what I appreciate about modern, like a modern light RPGs that are like limited in items, and limited in abilities, and limited in focus, and like
Yeah.
it's kind of like Child of Light from Ubisoft was kind of the same way for me, where it's like this is a action platformer kind of thing, but when you have your fights, you go into RPG turn-based mode, and they're very focused on, we want you to do this. They don't feel like Dragon Quest to me. They don't feel
Yeah.
like that style of
So
thing.
the just so people know, The Cruel King and the Great Hero is essentially an RPG-esque game. It's kind of like a light version of an RPG. You can only have like one other person in your party, but you do get to move people in and out.
Yeah. They have
your-
dedicated gear that belongs to them, and when they leave your party, you get back the things that are not dedicated.
Yeah, it's kind of got a fairy tale-esque thing going on with it, because it's about a young girl who was the child of the previous hero, who's being raised by a dragon, and she wants to be a great hero as well.
Yeah.
And
She has to stand up against the cruel king.
So she starts off with a stick
Yes.
to whack things with, and she's got a pot for a helmet. And
It's very cute.
Just very cute.
Yeah.
And then it's sad at some point.
It will make you cry at some point. So, but that kind of thing where I'm like, Echoes of Wisdom was, I think, a similar feel to me of like, that's larger in scope, and it is an action RPG, so there's no slowing down to have your fights, but it also still feels like it feels limited in the fact that like the way an open world game does not feel limited. Open world games feel unlimited. That's like go anywhere, do anything, interact with stuff however you want. You're still accomplishing tasks and stuff too. But then the trees get deep, right? Like it's like what you can tech tree on, and the story might get really huge, and there's all sorts of interacting pieces and stuff. And Breath of the Wild isn't even like that. It don't have a bunch of interactive like things from like different places affecting different things. It's like, so I really feel like my thing is like, boy, I like a limited RPG. It's what I liked about the
Yeah.
original Dragon Quest, right?
I
It's
like some games to be, because there's so many games that are so long.
yeah.
I do like some games to be much smaller scope.
Yeah. And, when you have a dozen people in your party potentially, or that you have to do special things in the game to unlock the other dozen people that you could possibly get in your party, which means you have to play through the game 10 or 15 or 20 times. And I'm like, nope, don't care, not interested.
Well,
you did pre-order me a copy of Yakuza Kiwami, and I am looking forward to playing it. And I know that game also runs like deep in terms of like there's lots of stuff to do in that game, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it. But I also
you're also the kind of person who really likes to see everything the game has to offer. You're basically on the edge of being a completionist style gamer at all times. So I feel like when someone says, here's a game that you have to play like 20 times in order to get everything, that's not a thing you want to do.
Like I finished Sakuna, and I'm like, because I found out that I was like, oh, if you want to go deeper in the challenge shrine, you have to finish the game once. And when I found that out, I'm like, oh. And then I finished the game. I'm like, great. And I put it away because I'm like, I'm done. I'm done playing this because I don't care. I don't want to do your after game content that is just grinding on a shrine like that, especially when I know there's another like 40 or 60 levels deep. I'm like, I lose interest so fast when I finish a game. Because that's why I put off finishing a game for so long, is because I'm like, let me see everything you want to put in front of me. When I finish the story, I feel good that I have done so, and then I can move on to like something else. Because I might sit after a movie to watch the after credits sequence.
Sure.
But I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's fine.
Like, that's the thing, is like, I'm like, oh, MCU, whatever, I'll try to keep up. And then at some point it's like, no, you gave me too much to do, and now it's homework, and I don't give a shit about that. So, and Doodles the Great did ask, did you watch the anime for Sakuna of Rice and Ruin? And
we did.
That was literally what prompted me to play the game.
The anime is, as far as anime goes for a video game adaptation, it's really good.
It really is.
Because we watched The World Ends With You one, which is not bad.
But you played that game.
But I played that game, and I just, given how much you end up playing in the game, and there's a bit of a disconnect to me. It just doesn't quite feel as good. And then, there's certain things you're waiting for them to kind of do an episode on that they're never going to maybe touch, because there's so many mechanics within that game, and it's like 12 episodes. So they get the basic story in there, and that's great. Or you get a lot of the Persona anime, I don't think of as, it's good, but I don't think of it as great in terms of, like, because when I see anime based on a video game, especially something that's long, what I see is an opportunity to try to get some friends into a thing that they don't want to spend all the time playing.
That's very
right. Or maybe they're not into an RPG or whatever. Mechanically, they don't want to play, but they could at least interact with the story.
And that would,
a lot of what I've seen from, I haven't seen all the Persona animes, but I watched some 4, and what I got off of that was where we've animated some scenes from the game, and I'm like, but everyone's missing out on so much plot because of the way the dungeons work and all this other stuff. So to me, that's not a great anime in the sense of what I would want to use it for. Whereas Sakuna is so good in actually going through the whole story and going through a lot of stuff, and they kind of look like they skip a couple things here and there, but they're not important to the story that's being portrayed.
When you play the game, you realize that they had to condense a few things down and put things in a slightly different order because it would be more dramatically interesting in an anime versus in the game. You can draw out the drama a bit by putting things in a slightly different order. My only complaint about Sakuna is that growing rice in your one field, that's all you ever do for growing rice, right? You don't have to do like dozens of fields. You just inherit dozens of fields. But you only have to grow in the one field, and then based on what you're doing there, they would do in all the other fields for you, right? Your workers do for you, kind of thing. And so my one complaint about it is that as you are trying, like even doing everything yourself can take a real friggin' long time until you start to get better and better at it, and then it takes less and less time to actually do stuff. But it's not clear while you're learning things. You're going to mess up, and you kind of have to be okay with that, which is very hard for somebody who likes to min-max their whatever. But even when you feel like you've gotten good at it, it's not easy for you to understand how to make, like, the one thing I was really trying to focus on was to get the scent of my rice better.
Yeah.
Because there's like 7 different categories you can pick. And I was like, well, one of the things I want to do is to improve the scent of my rice or whatever it was. And it's like, to do that, here's all the things that you have to do. And then I would do all those things and I would obey them as close as I could. And they don't tell you that. It's like, yes, you hit the perfect water level. They're like, oh, you're low. You have to wait till the end of the year to find out whether you're right or not. And I'm like, that's what it would be like being a farmer back then, is that you would fill it up and you'd be like, is that the right amount? I'll learn over the next 10 years as I'm farming stuff whether I'm actually doing the right amount of water or not. And we'll talk to other farmers and we'll learn other information. But trying to get the scent up, it was like, I had to keep looking at the manuals. I had to keep reminding myself about these are the things you have to do. And then I would do it. And at the end of the year, the scent would be no better than it was previously.
It seemed like there were certain tutorial things that they weren't really telling you, or they would tell you much later.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't mind that.
But if you don't know that that's coming, it just causes some confusion.
It feels frustrating. But even after I'd learned all the things, I'm like, this is how you do it. And then I would do it. And then the scent wouldn't get any better. And I'm like, I don't know what's going wrong. I don't know what I am doing wrong. I don't know why it is going wrong. And I hate the fact that it feels like, remember Monster Tail?
Monster Tail's so good.
For the DS.
Oh, no, right. You're going to talk about that.
There is a point in the game where, because the whole point is, not the whole point, it's a Metroidvania, but it's also a Pokemon.
It's got, well, not Pokemon. It's got like a kind of a pet simulator thing.
Yes.
So you have like this one monster with you that will go up into the top screen because it's a DS game.
Yeah. And you're playing in your Metroidvania part in the top screen.
And you do stuff, you feed them and you take care of them, but they'll come down into the Metroidvania screen that you're going in, and they will help you fight and do stuff.
But evolution is a part of this. Is that what you're doing is as you're giving them enrichment and giving them food and giving them toys to play with and whatever in the lower screen, and you're touching the screen and whatever and you're also playing the stuff in the top. And this is really good. Like, you might be like, holy shit, sounds like a lot of work. It is not. It's actually very well executed. And they had tried to remake the game. I don't think they weren't able to get the money for it or something, but it's so good. There is a point in the game where I either leveled myself too much or I leveled my monster too much.
I think it's the monster.
Yeah.
There's an evolutionary tree that just goes forward essentially.
But it branches.
And it branches, but you can get all of them.
Yes.
And then when you get really close to the end, if you've accidentally given them all the XP they can actually get, you can't get that very last evolution.
You can't evolve them to the last step.
If you messed up in your calculations.
Yeah. But the thing is there's nothing visible to tell what the calculations are.
Nope.
There's nothing to tell you that you went too far. So you get to what you think is the end, and then you keep trying and trying and grinding and grinding to do more. And it does not tell you, it's like, oh, you went too far, you did too much.
Yeah, because I think it needs to go up a level or something to activate the next step. And because you've basically pinned the levels, it can't do that. I think technically that's game design. I don't think that's intentional game design.
I wouldn't say it's a bug, but I think the problem is that it's execution.
I do think that's part of the game design.
Yeah, I think it's something that when they designed it, I think that it's something that when they designed it, they were like inadvertently allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
That it really feels like they didn't think through what happens if. And so it didn't allow for that. And I can't say that for sure because I don't know I never talked to the devs and asked, like, hey, why is this thing? But yeah, it sucks because there's no way back and there's no way to force an evolution and there's no way to do other things. And I was just kind of like, actually, that's another frustrating thing. In Saints Row 3, I did get an ability where I could 100% one of the things on my map, but it didn't tell me that it was this thing you're going to use. You're going to spend an awful lot of money or whatever to actually utilize this. It's a one-time only thing. They made it sound like this very expensive thing that you can do to basically just be like, I passed that and I'm done. They didn't tell me that is a thing that you can only use once. And I wish they had, because I'd have been like, well, then I'll save that
when you actually need it, as opposed to I'll just use that so that I can progress.
Yeah, which means that the final mission, the final neighborhood. There's only one neighborhood mission in the game that I have been unable to finish, and it is the hardest helicopter escort mission.
Oh, that one.
And it drove me up the goddamn. It's still, I mean, like, and I finally finished the game and put the game aside because I was like, we're done. I could have 100%ed this.
See, this is
if I had just used that here instead of on a thing that was just driving me nuts earlier, but it was something that I would have been able to finish because I would have been better at it.
Yeah. See, this is why I say that I'm a completionist until I get bored. Because
Yeah.
generally there's something that you could do, but maybe you need to sink like 50 extra hours into
Yeah.
it or whatever.
I've spent a lot of time talking about stuff I was interested in, stuff that I did, and I feel like that is to the detriment of the things you wanted to talk about and that you have written down. And I do think, I don't know if often enough I leave space for you on this show, and so I definitely am very much stating I am, as a thing to do, I'm going to leave more space for Heather to actually develop her thoughts on the show.
Okay.
So, yes.
I mean, I
I'm-
believe we got through pretty much everything that I've heard you play this year.
Yeah, Fallout was great, and I can't wait to finish it. And I assume I will
Well,
probably
you
end up.
say that, but you're not going to stream it for ages.
Yeah, it's true. I will probably end up trying to finish it on stream. I just don't know when I'll get back to it, so we'll see.
So technically, I finished Stray at the beginning of the year, the one with the cat in the backpack.
All right,
which is really cute.
we're getting that for Switch, but what's the point? That's okay.
I wouldn't. I mean,
I don't think I would
honestly,
either.
I wouldn't play that on Switch.
Yeah, not unless
It's
you.
pretty.
Yeah, not unless you're like, I really want
And-
to play it, and I'm not buying a
And
PS5. Yeah,
normally I'm not like. Normally I don't care. I'm like, if it doesn't look as good, it's fine. But honestly, I really think seeing a cat look like a real cat does a lot for that game.
that's fair.
But yeah, Stray's really good. It's fairly short as a game if you're looking for something on the smaller scale. It's a lot of puzzling and walking around as a cat. You actually just start off without a backpack, so you kind of have like a limited amount of things you can do, but you can curl up in places and take naps and hide in boxes.
They gave you an
There's,
awful
like, a lot
of cat stuff to do.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like doing cat stuff. There's kind of like, I'd say, a turning point in the game that goes from you're definitely doing a lot of cat stuff to now you're doing a lot of what feels like more video gamey stuff. Like you're doing stealth missions and you're running from these creepy little fleshy bug-looking things that
Right.
will kill you, that kind of thing. But like the puzzly aspects and stuff, I really enjoyed, and it's just really cute. Also, you get to be an orange cat.
Yeah, one brain cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Running from the garbage eaters. So that one was a lot of fun. I'm going to skip stuff that I didn't think was great.
But you did finish.
I mean, I can tell you what I finished and I didn't think was great.
I
You played PictoQuest, didn't you?
yeah.
It wasn't great.
The thing is, what it does fine.
Yeah, but it's not great.
It just didn't. It just doesn't. I don't want to be mean about things like that. Where I'm like,
Being mean.
yeah, it's just like it did.
It
Did not feel engaging enough to me.
It's a Picross game.
Yeah.
It tries to meld it in with kind of an RPG element style thing.
Which it doesn't. Which
Which
it does reasonably
it does
okay. Yeah,
Could have been worse.
but could have
But-
been way better.
It's just not that great.
Yeah.
I'd give it like a 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad they made something like that, and maybe the next time they do something like that, or maybe if another group does something like that, it'll actually be more transcendent, right? But yeah.
Technically finished Baldur's Gate 3 in January,
Hell yeah.
which is a fantastic game. Boy, am I worn out on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you want to talk about a game that you have to play several times and you want to actually see everything,
Right.
this is not a game for you.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with certain decisions or not even having the right build for certain things.
Right.
But as like and I've not played any of the other Baldur's Gate
That's-
game, but as like a portrayal of a D&D game, it's really good. It's
That-
a lot of fun.
That sounds a lot like me and the times I played Shadowrun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I want to build this, and then you do, and then you play the game, and when you get to the end of it, you realize that I actually wanted to try to play more like this, but I didn't because I was
There's
trying
certain
to.
things you're not going to be able to do because of the way you've built stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a hard mode on that game that's like, I can't remember what they call it, but because I saw an achievement for it and I had to look up what the mode was, and it's playing through the game with this specific setting on that doesn't let you save scum, which I may have done some, definitely, because people kept dying.
Sure. Why not?
But I had a lot of fun with it. There's just so much to it. It's also one of the only games I've ever played where if I start talking about it, I've had people who I've like barely talked to at like parties or whatever. It's like their heads twist. They're like, "You what now?" And they're just like there, and you're suddenly just because that game was so popular,
Right. They want to talk
but
about
and everyone was playing it.
Yeah, they want to talk about their experiences as well.
Which is a fun byproduct of a game like this.
I agree.
Like asking if you went this route or what arc you're in, what build you did. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I played a game called Witch and Hero 3.
Hey.
You remember Witch and Hero?
I do, yeah.
So it's kind of a tower defense. How do you describe that?
So it's a single screen. In the middle of the screen, the witch. This is the original game.
Yeah.
The witch is standing, and you are the hero, and you have to walk around Vampire Survivor style, where everything comes in from all these different angles. What you're doing is you're defending, because the witch can't move, and is like because they're made of stone or whatever. It doesn't matter, but it's like you have to fight all the things that come in, and eventually the witch can like trigger a blast to like blow everybody away.
There's slimes and monsters and stuff come in from the size of the screen. The witch can't die. That's who you're trying to protect. You're running around the edges.
The witch must not die. That's the point.
Well, because that's the fail point.
Yeah.
You run into monsters essentially, and you're just kind of leveling up as you gain more experience points and you get money and spend on better gear. Once you hit enough monsters, you essentially like gather enough magic that the witch comes out of the cement or whatever.
Their stone state. Yeah.
And they'll like do random magic for a while to help.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one, I can't remember it's like 1, 2, and 3 are very similar to each other, but they're slightly different. It's a continuing storyline. I can't remember what the differences actually are.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a fun little game.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little frustrating sometimes because you are just playing to try to make money to level up your gear, and occasionally you just hit points where you're dying repetitively.
Yeah.
But I do like it as a thing.
Sometimes it's nice to have a game that has a very simple concept. You can just kind of, I mean, that's why people play solitaire or threes.
I play Pyre.
Pyre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game that was made before Hades.
Oh, okay.
By
Supergiant?
yeah.
Really? Oh, I didn't.
I think that was made just before Hades. It's definitely one of their previous games.
Okay, fair.
I like it a lot, except for all the parts where I have to play the game.
Okay. That's
So think visual novel,
okay.
except you have to every now and then play sports.
Right. So I just saw NBA Jam with a fantasy trapping. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Oh, right,
it's a
yes.
3v3 team.
God, I remember you talking about this.
And there's no like online multiplayer or anything like that. You control the 3 people on your team. You can only move one character at a time. Whoever has the ball essentially is the one who can move.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to pass between your players and do whatever, score, make points. You're basically going through this lineup of you've all been like exiled into this weird space. And so you join a team, you make friends, you're trying to ultimately defeat everybody in this sport, because if you do, you get to have your wish at the end and somebody gets to come out of exile.
Right.
Only one person on your team gets to actually leave exile, though.
Which means that if you're like freeing somebody who's awesome when they play for you, you're actually losing one of your best players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, not everybody's going to get out
Right.
at the very end, because eventually you only have like the 3 or however many people are left, and they
2 of them.
once you get rid of one, you don't have enough people to get to keep going. Also, like, stuff happens, so it's not going to work out anyway.
It's
but
fair.
If you lose, the game still keeps going.
Oh.
It's not, I have to win this tournament. It's just you don't get a character who gets out.
Right.
And I do think that's really good.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way. I just don't like actually playing the sport part.
Fair.
I like doing all the other stuff.
Right.
It's like, oh, do you want to go over there and see if you can find this whatever thing? Yes, I do. Do you want to choose a character to go up? Do you want to see how the story goes about? You're going to talk to people? Yeah, absolutely. Want to play sports? No. I don't.
Oh, well. It's a good thing you liked killing all the monsters in Hades.
Hades is fantastic.
Yeah. Can't wait to play the sequel.
Princess Peach Showtime?
I mean, I can wait to play the sequel. Anyway, yeah. I played the demo. I played the demo. You played the whole game.
Yeah. It's okay. It's interesting in the fact that there's a bunch of different stages that you're doing where you're essentially playing different games. It's really cool that Peach actually gets to do something interesting.
Yes.
The way stuff is set up so that you're replaying levels to try to get collectibles does not feel good. Does not feel fun. It's fun playing through the first time. It's fun seeing new stuff, but the way they've got stuff set up, going back for collectibles does not feel fun. And it's also a little short in the sense that you typically get you get a cool outfit, you like your sword fighter, you're gonna go onto the stage and sword fight.
Yeah.
You really only get to do that like twice, and then you have to do like a boss fight stage, and because you've released the sword fighter person who's supposed to be in that act in that play.
Right.
You can never use that power again.
Right.
To me, it's really weird because you don't have like that stage buildup of. Eventually, you hit stages where maybe you need to change outfits into different costumes and do different things.
Right.
They don't do any of that. They're not really building on anything. Again, it's cute. I think there's some good stuff in Princess Peach Showtime, but it's just kind of. It doesn't feel like they took it to where they should have taken it.
I feel like there's two corollaries to what you're talking about then. And one is Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Fantastic game.
But that idea of, especially like in the introductory level where you get to become a cone, you get to become stairs, you get to become a car. And Princess Peach Showtime is very much like, and what if you could never do those things ever again?
Yeah.
Right? You get to do them a lot, and then you have to be done with it. And the second thing I'm thinking about, and I didn't play it, is Astrobot, which is will give you something really fun to do for a limited amount of time, and then you are done doing that, and you will not come back and do that again. Or you might come back and do it once, but we're not going to let you come back and do that same kind of activity again later in the game.
Yeah, they don't overstay their welcome on their thing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right in terms of what they do in Princess Peach with that.
Right, that it feels like it's like I hit a point and I'm like, oh, but I don't want to stop this interaction. I want to be able to, because like I found that when I was baking stuff, I'm like, oh, right, well, the baking thing of make your cake look like this felt like, sure, that definitely feels like a thing that could come up several times throughout the whatever. And if I was changing my outfit to come back into the thing and do more baking stages, I could see myself doing that in future levels. And when you told me that it's like, no, you turn into the kung fu fighter and then you get to do that for a while and then you might get to do it one more time, but then that's about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Like it just doesn't feel like they went
Shantae
far
lets
enough.
you change into shit all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have absolutely played a whole game as Princess Peach as a ninja.
Yeah.
Because the ninja levels were a lot of fun for me, and I liked a lot of things they do. The whole game is like basically 2-button, right? Like you have your moving stick, but you're really only pushing one because depending on your outfit is what does your action, right?
The game relies an awful lot on novelty, and therefore, I mean, and also the simplicity of the game makes you feel like this was designed for children primarily. That it was like our audience for this, we want to be 7 and 8 year old kids who aren't deep gamers. We want them to have a fun, enjoyable experience.
I think it's good for a kid in the sense that
Definitely
if they haven't tried out a lot of different genres of games, they might find stuff that they like. But yeah I don't know. It kind of feels half baked.
I mean,
Polished but half baked.
Yeah, the visual realization is beautiful.
And then the end boss fight's pretty funny.
Nice.
To me.
I'll pick it up eventually.
You say that.
Well, it's on my shelf.
Pepper Grinder. Speaking of games that feel short.
Yeah.
Pepper Grinder's a really good game.
Yeah.
It's the one where you have the grinder and you're like kind of constantly moving in sand and doing things. So it's weirdly almost like a platformer. Boss fights are difficult, so if that's not your jam, I would maybe avoid it.
But they're built around the gimmick of the pepper grinder.
Yeah, and they do a couple of interesting things like a hook shot and some other things I don't think they do quite enough with. But I think, I'm trying to remember, I think the game ends after like 5 worlds.
Right.
And weirdly just ends up kind of feeling short because not because of what they're doing, but because every video game has taught me that there's 8 worlds.
Oh, okay.
That when I finished and I was like, wow, this boss fight's really hard. It's weird for this stage in the game. Oh, we're done. Wait, we're done? Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say their fault necessarily, and I had a lot of fun playing it, but I do think...
A couple more worlds would have been nice.
Yeah, just a little bit more. And I think, I don't know that I think that it would have been fun to see a couple more gimmicks.
Okay.
Because the other thing that the grinder would do is you would find like
The drill
elevators
machine?
and
Yeah.
stuff that you would put and use the grinder to like move the elevator up and down. Or there was like a robot that you activated with it,
Yeah.
things like that. They did some really neat stuff with it.
That's very much like Iconoclasts. That what got me into Iconoclasts is the fact that they give you a giant ass wrench and you can use it to turn stuff. And ultimately, like I played all the way through Iconoclasts, and felt very melancholy about it at the end because I was like, this isn't a hopeful story. This isn't a. I thought we were building to some sort of like grand save the world thing, and it really does not feel like that by the end. And I remember being really in love with the whole use your wrench to crank the thing and to make stuff happen. And you start to realize as you get deeper and deeper into the game is that matters less and less. And but I like anything that where they give you a tool, but you can interact with the environment in different ways by using this tool, and it's the only way to interact with your environment. And Pepper Grinder kind of felt like that same thing.
Kind of idea in that sense, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super Mario RPG.
You did finish it.
I did.
Lovely. What'd you think? I never did.
I liked it. I had fun with it. It's not a game I care about.
Does it tell you something interesting about Mario RPGs in general, knowing that this would have been the first?
I think it's interesting to play if you're like looking for that. I like really old school Paper Mario, and I want to kind of see where it started, even though it's a different team.
Well, because it's Square Enix.
Yeah.
Does it feel like, I guess actually the more important question is, did you play any of the Final Fantasies before Final Fantasy VII?
I have played Final Fantasy X.
Okay. So, yeah, the Mario being adapted to JRPG, I think that's what makes Super Mario RPG very interesting still to people, is that it was like it was here you can play a Final Fantasy-esque game. We have simplified it in ways. We have added a couple interesting features to it, stuff that will make its way into future Final Fantasies and maybe into other Dragon Quests. But we want it to be this, because it wasn't Square Enix, it was just Square, I think, at the time. But that was also an influence on the idea of making Paper Mario, and also I'm almost certain it had to be an influence on Mario and Luigi.
Oh, definitely, because like a lot of the timing stuff actually comes from that point.
Yeah. And I just was, I think that's the thing people always ask, is that people will always view Super Mario RPG, I think, through the nostalgic lens. So somebody who's never played
I think
games.
Part of it is
I think
it
that's
just kind of,
interesting.
even though it's been updated
Yeah.
graphically.
And has some quality of life stuff that you wouldn't know about.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely has some quality of life stuff. I've heard about some of the things that are different.
Ah, okay. I shouldn't say you wouldn't know about things you wouldn't have experienced.
It
But
feels old though.
yeah.
It does feel old. And that's not like a bad thing. It's just it doesn't feel like a game that you would get today. Story-wise, I liked a lot of stuff. I liked... I played this game so long ago now, this year, that I've forgotten. The Cloud thinking that he's a frog because he grew up with the tadpoles, to me was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's some good, delightful moments in it.
Yeah.
the hidden boss fight where you are just fighting Final Fantasy something.
Yeah.
And the art style of the character, the things that you're fighting change, and the Final Fantasy music is playing. I did think it was pretty funny.
Right.
But like overall, I'm like, it was fine. I liked it well enough when I was playing it. I don't think
Right.
I'd ever replay it.
That's fair. I only ever played it. I rented it for a week on vacation and played it during summer vacation or whatever. Had fun with it up to the point that I played it. And when I had to go back, I had wanted to play more, but after it had gone back to the rental shop, I was not motivated to go buy a copy. I was a teenager, so it's not like I had any disposable income anyway. So
Yeah. Oh, right, Gino. I don't understand why anyone likes Gino. I don't really get why he's popular.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't either. I
But-
played the original game, and I don't give a shit about
Okay.
it. So
I feel like I'm great. I don't get it. I don't really don't get it.
Wheeler raided with a whole bunch of people. Hello, all
Hey,
the
Wheeler.
raiders.
Hey,
Stick around for a bit. We're
Rodeo. Believe they're called the Rodeo.
The rodeo showed up. This isn't our first rodeo either. He's raided before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wheeler, you got a letter sitting in your. He's probably not even here, but you have a letter sitting in your.
Wheeler, come pick up your mail.
Yeah, get your
Beach
goddamn
got
mail.
you some
God
mail.
damn it.
Pick
Yeah.
it up.
There's something.
At your earliest convenience.
It's not a giant package. It's an envelope, and it has something in it that I shouldn't bend. That's all.
Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. Do you remember what game this is?
This is the Zelda Wand of Gamelon take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a CDI game that's good.
Yeah, that is actually playable.
Yeah, it plays well. It was a lot of fun. It's actually one of the few games where I've wanted to go. I just want to go back and keep playing it, even though there's nothing left to do.
Right. Okay.
It's got a story that basically mocks the other stories.
Sure.
Arzette is I believe Arzette's actually the name of the main character, is the princess, and she's like, I got to do this because the guy who's supposed to be the hero is an idiot.
Yeah.
And just doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's just a lot of fun, and it looks good. It plays well. You should definitely play it.
I'll
I
eventually
think
get
you would
around
like
to
it.
We'll see.
Yeah. It was good to the point where my brain was doing that thing where it's like, well, maybe I should check out the other CDI games.
Yeah. No.
And I had to tell myself not to do that because I know the truth
Yeah.
about those. And
Dandy Geek had me
shouldn't.
play one, and I was like, "Wow, this
yeah,
licks."
and I
Wow.
shouldn't. But I do that sometimes with video games where I'm like, oh, wow, the latest game in this series that came out is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I should check out the previous ones. And then you go and you try to like look at stuff, and people are like, nobody plays these. We don't want anyone to know these existed. They're not good.
Yeah.
And you're like, right.
Yep.
Or people are like, these are great as long as you're okay with old styles of things.
Yeah.
Because, there's stuff that was really good at the time when it came out, and it's just if you're not ready for that, your mindset will mess you up.
I feel like I'm crowding you off camera.
Oh.
So yeah, want you to.
I have a tendency to just kind of slide.
Well, I mean, because we want to be able to talk at each other while we're talking too.
Yeah,
I
I
get
know,
that.
right?
Yeah. So actually focus at each other.
I played Little Kitty Big City on stream.
Mm-hmm. How's that compared
That was
to
a lot of
Stray?
fun. I like Stray better, but they are not the same game. One is a sci-fi, everything is awful game, and Little Kitty Big City is you fell out of a window and now you're a cat trying to get back up to your perch. You hunt,
a very simple
pigeons,
idea.
you get like hats, you do a lot of side quests. It's very cute. It's a lot of fun. If you don't want the sci-fi puzzle aspects of like Stray, Little Kitty Big City might be more up your alley. Or you just watch the VOD on youtube.com/loadingreadylive.
Oh yeah, I guess it's fair.
I
Yeah.
played the whole thing in like one sitting. I did a bonus stream for that one.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of cute to just you wander around. There's some small puzzle things. There's some stuff where the hat is actually important. Like you can't go onto the construction site. Well, okay, you can go into the construction site, but the construction workers will chase you off the construction site or take you out of the construction site unless you're wearing a construction helmet.
You need a hard hat to be. It's a
Yeah.
hard hat site. That's very funny.
And that's a lot of fun.
I make it sound like I'm like, oh yeah, that's very funny. How very, just very sarcastic. It's not,
And while you do hunt birds,
yeah.
you're playing with them.
Yes.
You always let them go.
Yes.
So if you're like, I don't want to play as a cat that actually hurts things, you don't. It's good. It's that small kind of nice 5-hour experience.
Okay. Nice. Good. Other highlights from your list?
Romancylvania?
You told me that succeeds because of pure execution.
No, Romancylvania is a game that is trying to be a dating sim
Yes.
style thing and a Metroidvania at the
Yep.
same time.
Uh-huh.
It does neither of these things well, as
Right.
far as I'm concerned. But the storyline is weird, and stuff that you don't think will happen just happens. And if you're there for that aspect of it, it's a delightful experience.
Right. Like I say, it exceeds on the fact of pure execution, not on the quality of execution. The fact that they made the game is what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is one of the more interesting games out there.
Yeah. You didn't play Ebenezer and the mysterious fucking whatever.
We did that at Christmas time.
I know, but you didn't get
I
to
didn't play it.
with it.
The controls looked awful.
Right. Well, they're a little loose, but not miserable. Like they were like, you can jump. It's just, I don't know, something about like acceleration and stuff and moving around. But to your mind, and I think that's the thing about like a Metroidvania or really just any sort of precision platformer as well, is that obviously the quality of the controls are what's paramount. How do you feel about Romancylvania's controls and moving and
schemes?
stuff?
Oh, that part was fine.
Right.
The controls were fine. There were a lot of fun jokes because like you had the PSL, the pumpkin scarecrow with the big pumpkin boobs,
Pumpkin Spice Lady.
which was funny.
Mm-hmm.
You had some characters who were clear because the whole conceit is that your friend, the Grim Reaper, is upset that you've been, which also you can choose between man or woman for your Dracula character.
Right.
I went with the guy because I wanted to smooch ladies, but which I don't think actually changes anything, but whatever. Your friend, the Grim Reaper, is like mad that you're still like holed up in your castle, being upset about your last relationship, and so has devised this game show that they're forcing you onto. So they've invited all these people.
Right.
So you have a couple of people who are like, don't really want to be there, but they're like, well, I'm a genie, and if I'm here, maybe I can get out of being a genie at some point, but I get a vacation from being that, or you get some, your ex Medusa is there.
Everybody has more
like,
complicated motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that's just funny about it and really weird, and then you have, like, fights that are potentially optional, I think, where, like, you fight the flying spaghetti monster. Mm-hmm. But you're just kind of running around finding things for people. There's little side questy things. Yeah. And some of the background design for the different places you go are just wild. But yeah, I think it's a really fun game. It's just if you're looking for like a really solid Metroidvania, that's the kind of game you want to be playing mechanically.
Yeah.
This probably won't get that itch.
It's fair.
As a dating game, probably still won't really get that itch in terms of what an actual visual dating sim is supposed to be.
But sometimes when you have people who are doing genre mashups, a lot of it is about showing off an idea that you had to say, what happens if we combine these two things together? You know, and then putting that out there for people to be like, oh, yeah, let's see what that is. And that can also be inspiration to other developers too.
It's just like you should know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Right? I played Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was very good.
You finish that.
It's more Spider-Man. I gotta play Spider-Man 2 now. I'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, so Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales are both really good at like the one thing you really want out of a Spider-Man game, or at least what I've always wanted as a kid out of a Spider-Man game.
Is travel.
Yeah, just web slinging.
That was everything I heard about Insomniac. It's kind of like that they were like, this if this doesn't feel good, then the game won't feel good, because there have been dozens of Spider-Man games, and none of them, like, Christ, even back to the one that I had on the Game Boy, you want web slinging, but what you're doing is you're walking along and you're shooting stuff out of your out of your wrists, and then you can like jump in the air and you can like do the web slinging thing, but it's really awkward and it sucks.
Most of the games I played for Spider-Man as a kid were side-scroll street brawlers.
Yeah. Like,
which is the funniest thing to watch Spider-Man do.
You know what actual early Spider-Man game, though, that I really loved?
What?
Just because of, and I can't play it for a long time, but it's the original Atari or ColecoVision or a television Spider-Man, which is just you're on a building and you're climbing to the top, and you have to avoid like the Green Goblin like dropping stuff on you, or windows that are open or whatever. Like you have to basically climb up the side of this building, get all the way to the top so you can fight the Green Goblin or something. It is the simplest concept, but the idea that what you're doing, it's just you're looking at a building and you're going up. I'm like, yeah, but when you play like a racing game for the Atari, you're looking down at a road and you're watching a car go back and forth. I'm like, the whole thing is just traversal. It's just travel, and you're just moving and moving and moving to go do a thing. And I'm like, why was that so engaging? That part of it. Why are sometimes those simple ideas so? It's like, well, now it's Spider-Man because he's red and blue and he's on the side of a building. You know, it's like that could have been an ant crawling across a road or something, or it could be Frogger. But it's like, yeah, there's something about establishing a thing in your mind, and that's the thing I think that everybody thinks about Spider-Man is it's like Spider-Man can always swing around on his webs wherever he is in the city.
So there's the swinging around's really good. The fighting feels really good because you're going to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Not hot on all of the different side missions, but I like the variety of some of the side missions.
Right.
Generally, the ones I don't like are the ones that enforce stealth, which will typically be a character swap to like Mary Jane or something where so that kind of thing can happen.
You're playing as a completely different character all of a sudden. Okay.
Yeah. You can do stealth as like Spider-Man, like you'll be you get bonuses for a lot of that stuff. Like you'll be in a building and you can web people in certain ways to basically not give off that you're there, so you can try to take out a bunch of enemies before you get into the actual fight.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. It's really a fun game, and I know it's a fun game because it's like, oh, I'm done. Cool. Well, what side missions have I not done yet? What trophies have I not platinumed on this thing yet, or gotten because I was playing on PlayStation? So it's like I want to keep playing,
right?
So I kept looking for things to do.
Right.
I'm excited to get to 2 eventually. I don't do like Spider-Man or any game if I can help it back to back because I don't want to
That's fair.
overdo it. I don't want to get bored of doing something similar. I played Duck Detective: The Secret Salami.
Yes. Which
I'm only bringing up because there's another Duck Detective game coming. The Ghost of Glamping, I think.
Something like that.
Something like that. So I'm excited for that one. Mm-hmm. Duck Detective is a very simple mystery-style game. You talk to people. You essentially find words because you're doing a fill-in-the-blank to solve the mystery.
And the way, when you say that to somebody, they're always like, that sounds stupid. And it's like,
it's done well, though. Yeah. Like, it's done well. It's everything's voice acted.
And charming as hell.
And it's charming. They make duck puns like deductions. There's a thing I got stuck up on at the beginning where he was really obsessed with this piece of bread that I found in his room that is clearly supposed to be beer or something like that.
Yeah.
He acts like he has this dark, mysterious past, which I'm not sure he actually has. Is that dark or mysterious? When you show up at the place to do, and he's clearly down on his luck because like he paid to take the bus to get where he was supposed to find the missing salami in the fridge of this workplace. And he was like, I have to solve this case or I won't be able to pay my way home.
Yeah.
And when he shows up, almost everybody's just like, why are you here? Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm the duck detective. I'm on a case. No, like, really, why are you here?
Yeah.
And the only problem I had with it is there's a thing near the end where it asks you, because it's like, oh, this is the, like, it turns into a larger conspiracy that's a little bit more interesting than someone's lunch is missing from the fridge. But the end has this point to it that's like, okay, well, now that you know everything,
who are you going to accuse?
Who are you going to blame? Because all of these people are technically in the wrong, have done an illegal thing for something.
Yeah.
Do you accuse this person, these people, this person, like everybody? And it's clear that like whoever you accuse is definitely going to go to jail.
Yes.
It has a point where it actually says nobody.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I did whatever, and I went back and I was like, I'm gonna pick nobody. I want to see what happens, and it just loops the conversation
until you have to accuse
it's like,
somebody.
Well, nobody can be. You can't say nobody because somebody has to take the blame. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
then why did you give me that as an option?
Yeah.
And I tried one of the other options, and it didn't change the ending. And to me, the decision felt like it was supposed to be more significant than that.
Right.
So it kind of lost something there for me.
Right.
But overall, I thought it was a really fantastic game.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for the glamping one.
I feel like that's
Can definitely stream that.
I think that's interesting too. Like Laserbeak says, it's a very noir setup, and it's like, yeah, the thing about film noir, if I remember correctly, then versus just like a standard detective story or mystery stories, is that what noir means is that it also introduces moral relativism into the thing as well. That it's like, I know this person did something wrong, but they did it for a good reason. So I'm not gonna snitch on them because I feel that they've worked through whatever it is they need to do, and even though they did a bad thing, they're also caught up in a bad thing, and so I'm going to just kind of wash that away and put the blame only solely on one person.
I'm not fond of a choice that is on the menu that just cycles because you're not allowed to actually take that choice.
Yeah, it would have been better to be like, if you blamed nobody, to actually have a line out that goes that says, okay, well then how does the story end? If the detective in the movie literally said, I don't think there's actually anybody here I could blame, and then what happens as a result of that would have been a very interesting story to explore.
Or even just it's there but it's crossed out and it's like you can't say no to nobody. Just like if you really feel like you have to put that in there.
God, you know what would have been good actually is if they had you're saying, if they have nobody as an option but there's a line through it, right?
Yeah.
But if depending on what you learned, that option becomes clear. Like,
that would be fun.
If there's like things that you didn't figure out that you could literally say, well, I don't have any way to back this up, so I could say nobody. Or you figured out so much that now you do say nobody because you're like, ethically they did something wrong. Morally, I don't think I don't think anybody here wants anybody to go to jail as a result of this. That would be an interesting idea. But yeah.
Also, you get to play as a duck.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying games where you play as people suck.
Untitled Goose Game is a very real.
That game was boring, so we're not going to talk about it.
Not Untitled Goose Game, the game she's looking at. We're gonna
Marvel's Avengers. It's really boring. I played Pikmin 1 and 2. Played the Switch versions of those. It's more Pikmin. 4 is still the best Pikmin, and you can't change my mind about that.
We played 3 together. 3
4
Deluxe.
Okay, 4 would be perfect if it had the co-op gameplay that 3 Deluxe had.
But 4 is really that good.
I really liked 4.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, the dog, like...
It does so much.
Yeah. It would have been so great to just be like, okay, then you can have a second player come in and play as the dog.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Maybe split screen it, maybe you don't. Maybe you both have to have a copy. I don't know. But yeah, two player is so good for Pikmin. Like 2 simultaneous co-op in Pikmin is so good. And I didn't think it would be, because I was like, how do you make this work? And when we played it in 3 Deluxe, I was like, oh, Jesus, this works so well.
Yeah, because that was not a mode in the original 3.
Yeah.
But I got it, and Beej and I played it together, and Beej had so much fun, which was weird
Yeah.
to watch.
Because being able to coordinate with somebody else while you're trying to do RTS-related things can actually be... That's why people play Minecraft or Warcraft, not Minecraft, but yeah, anyway.
Well, I mean, maybe. Okay. I played Severed for the 3DS.
Right.
Which is a really interesting game. I think it was also on the Vita. It's got...
Yeah, I think it's on Switch as well.
Right. You can only play it, like, handheld on Switch, I think.
Yeah, because it has...
Because it's everything on it is touchscreen. And it's just your kind of first-person dungeon crawling and stuff, but the fighting mechanic is that when a monster shows up, you have to slash things really quickly with the stylus, and the faster you can do that, the more like monster parts you get for doing certain things. But it's also just like this weird, it's really sad actually, now that I think about it. If you don't like sad games, maybe don't. The game starts out, your entire family is dead, and you're basically going around all these dungeon areas to collect their bodies so that you can bury them. But like the art style of it was really cool. The mechanic I thought was really interesting. There's a bunch of puzzles you have to figure out because you'll go into dungeons and it's like, oh, there's switches you have to hit in certain orders, or you have to find certain items. As you defeat things, you get more stuff, so you have to go back to dungeons if you want to hit up different puzzles you couldn't before.
Sure.
Like, mechanically, I just had a lot of fun with it, and it was a really interesting game.
Good.
But, yeah, it's sad. And the crows are really creepy. They want to eat you.
I kept getting Severed and Sundered mixed up in my head because it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very different game.
Very different games, obviously, but yeah, I kept getting mixed up. And I remember seeing Severed, and I was like, that's a really interesting idea for a game, but wasn't like...
Yeah. The only thing that might be a hard sell on it is if you have slow reaction times, the game might be too difficult.
Right. Okay.
Because there were definitely points where I was having... Because at the beginning of the game, you'll fight like maybe one monster, but as you go in, there might be 3 monsters, but you have to like turn your camera to fight them.
Okay.
And they all have countdown timers as to when they're going to attack.
Ah, okay.
And so, yeah, first-person dungeon crawling, kind of like Etrian Odyssey, but without the mapping.
Neat.
That you're doing. Do you remember hearing about the Pathless? You get that big eagle on that you fly around with. There goes my notebook.
I'll take this moment to try to remember this game that I do not remember at all. No, I know nothing about this game. I know there's a lot of games that I saw that came out that focused on, what if we could do you flying through stuff, and but an archer and an eagle in a vast forest, and no, nothing.
Yeah, so...
Was this in State of Play? Because it also came out for the Switch.
This came out quite a while ago.
Video Games Plus, they have a copy of it.
But yeah, this is what it looks. I just feel like people will know it if they actually see it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's. So you have a bird.
Yes.
That you can grab onto, so you can do floating and whatnot. And your main thing is archery. You're mostly running.
Okay.
You're spending a lot of time just running, and while you're running, you have to hit targets to keep your speed meter up.
But it is not... Is it an endless runner feeling kind of thing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's just more fun the more you can run.
Sure. All right.
And then it's mostly exploration
Yep.
and puzzles until you have to do some boss fighting. And there is a mechanic where every area you're in, there is a giant corrupted god walking around, and if it gets too close to you, your bird will get sent flying. You'll have to go get to it, and you'll have to sneak around because you can't actually fight that thing yet.
Okay.
And you don't want it to see you.
Was it good?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a lot of fun.
Nice. PS5? PS4?
PS4.
PS4. I mean, a game like this, I look at it and I'm like, the selling point immediately is look at how pretty and mysterious and beautiful and wonderful it will be to run through these areas and to see stuff like this. And then the second part is like, what's the control like and what's the gameplay loop like? Because there was that one game that I tried a demo of, I think, that was going. It would go on and on. People were writing articles about like it's like watching a Studio Ghibli film come to life. I'm like, stop, fuck off.
Right.
Like I hate that stuff. That's
That
like
came out recently.
Yeah, and I don't.
You were playing,
I played the demo of it and I was like, this is a collect-a-fest, and I hate this shit where it's just like run around and get 12 gems from the thing, then bring it to the font and dump your 12 gems in, and then that will unlock a thing so you can go find another 14 gems. And I'm like, normally I like that kind of do a thing, unlock more paths, do that, and cause like world-changing shit to happen, but I'm like, it's sometimes that stuff bugs me because it feels like all you did was you're just doing this stuff to unlock this stuff to make this other stuff happen. I'm like, I don't give a shit if it's what makes a Ghibli film good is the story, which is why when a Ghibli film has a shit story that I get really upset about that because it's not what I'm there for. Mm-hmm. I'm there to watch I'm there to watch an interesting story beautifully realized.
Yeah.
Does The Pathless have an interesting story?
So the Pathless story is kind of set up in the basic story is that someone has come along and corrupted all the gods and is going to essentially become a god themselves.
Okay.
And they're doing that in the name of humanity, but they're clearly evil and probably going to destroy everything.
Right.
So you are coming along and you are going to purify the gods, get them back to normal.
Is this very Shadow of the Colossus, and then you realize that, I shouldn't have done all that?
No.
Okay, good. Anyway. Sorry, I don't mean to...
If you would actually,
I'm trying not to shit on the game, but yeah.
It would be nice if you didn't. You haven't played it.
I haven't played it.
You don't know how beautiful it is.
I have no idea.
But there's also a lot of, like, as you're running around into areas, because most of the puzzles are, you come across them, and you have to figure out what you are going to do. Nothing's really going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bit of I think there's a few words every now and then because you find dead people that you can kind of see their spirits, and it looks like there was a group of people here at one point who were trying to do something, and they failed. They all probably got killed by the guy who thinks that he can become God now because he thinks the gods are wrong and he should just be the only one.
That tends to be how those guys
So it's a very
yeah.
simple story,
okay,
but it feels like you're kind of exploring a world. It's a little gamey feeling in some aspects, but overall, I think the main focus is the movement. It's the trying to constantly run. As you unlock certain puzzle things, the bird can actually flap up higher. So you can get like a lot of vertical motion on top of your horizontal running motion. And I had a lot of fun with it. I really do think it's a pretty good game. I would have loved it without the boss fights.
I saw McMahon here says that it was watching the gameplay, it was Archer Sonic the Hedgehog with exploration, which sounds like what Sonic Frontiers was trying to be, this thing of like, we want you to be Sonic and running around and in a big area and enjoying the fact that you are fast and you can do things.
I never really got to play it. There's like a demo I have downloaded.
But this is like, what if I'm seeing that, what I'm thinking is like, this is another game about traversal and about travel. It's about move fast, go faster, because you'll get to see more things and you'll get to experience the thrill of speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how in some video games when you start, walking feels like a chore,
Right.
and then you get items and you're like, oh man, now I can move fast and everything feels great.
Right.
Yeah, walking sucks, and if you can run and make everything go fast, it feels great.
Okay. And there's not a lot of obstacles in your way to keep you from
I mean, there's some stuff
going
you're gonna
fast.
jump over and do whatever, but it's not like, I wouldn't call it a platformer, even though there's some parts of platforming.
The thing that lost me about Sonic the Hedgehog was that you'd start walking and then you would start running and then you'd start really running and you'd go up and down and whatever. Those parts feel great. And then you would find the loops and you like find the loops, but I mean, it's like you get into a loop and you run through a loop and I'm like, I love that. And then you run through another thing and you're like, okay, so now you know, I've gone through another part of a loop, or I've gone through another thing, or I'm now in a tunnel, I'm doing whatever. I'm like, man, I'm really flying through this. I'm having a lot of fun. And then wham, and you just run into a wall. Like bumpers are one thing, but you run into a wall, or there's like a set of spikes that you run into the side of and you just stop. You don't hit it and bounce back. You don't get sent off in another direction. You just stop. And I think that was the point where I was like, this game sucks. Like, I was just like, you designed your game on purpose to make me go fast, and then what you did is you put in a thing that just stopped what you didn't redirect that speed. You didn't try to send me off to do anything else. You literally made all that speed go away. And I am not motivated to rip. It's like playing fucking Battletoads.
I think it's interesting that your reaction to every game that I like is a different game that you hate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying this is like that, but I'm like,
No.
if this has that feeling of you're moving, you're going fast, you're doing stuff, and you're not running into obstacles right away that make you stop doing things, or the obstacles are apparent so you know that they're coming and you try to avoid them, then I'm like, that's what I think makes a game about movement and traversal really good. That it's like we're giving you options and opportunities to be able to redirect your motion and to be able to keep moving in a different way. So, sorry, just got me on. I always need to talk about how much I can't fucking stand Sonic. So anyway, it's not ChillPoint, right? It's ChillPoint. Sorry,
Have you? You should play the Plucky Squire, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know which game that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool.
That's the one everyone got real excited
it's-
about. It was delayed to come out,
It was
and then
more-
it came out, and everyone was like, "I can't wait to play this." And they played it. They're like, "Oh, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It doesn't seem like it needs more."
Kind of. It
Yeah.
needs more in certain areas.
Right.
Doesn't need more in everything. It's so the Plucky Squire is the reason it definitely got a lot of attention is because there was a new game studio whose name I've forgotten now, that one half of is by James Turner, who was the who did Pokemon design.
Yes.
And they do some really cute artwork and stuff. They draw Kirby and stuff every now and then on their social media.
Yeah.
But the game itself is there's a book called The Plucky Squire. You are playing the Plucky Squire, and you are story-wise, you're the hero. Everything is great. Look at you.
Yes.
You're the name of the hero, and this is amazing. The villain has discovered that you all live in a book,
Right.
and therefore he can't win because he's inside your book. So
He wants to get out of the book, doesn't he?
no, he pushes you out of the book.
Oh, okay. That explains why I've seen scenes like that. Then, okay.
So
yeah.
therefore, you won't be around, and you can't do the thing, and it basically renames the book and whatnot. So you get like these 2D spaces where you're inside the book, you get pushed out of the book. There's a 3D element on a desk.
I've seen
because,
the video
you're
of that,
running
yeah.
around and you're doing stuff there, and so now you've like got portals to go in and out of the book. You're walking around. You have to, in order to make changes in the book, change the words in the book. So
Okay.
you'll go around and essentially find words, pick them up, throw them into a sentence to make obstacles go away. It's a little bit more puzzle than running around and fighting. And it has a lot of elements in it where it is doing a different thing from a different game. So one of the first things you run into, you go fight, I think is a honey badger, and it's essentially just Punch Out. And then there's another one where you get inside what is very clearly a Magic the Gathering card, and you're doing kind of a little bit of an RPG thing there. And there's some little, essentially things like that where you're doing a different gameplay mechanic. It's very cute. The whole thing of like why you can't let the villain win is if this book is not read by the child whose room this is, they will be the book will get boring because the villain wins, and they'll set it off to the side, and they will never potentially become this great writer in the future because of your children's book, which is maybe a lot for a book to put on its shoulders, but it's incredibly cute. I like what it's going for. The problem I had was certain gameplay elements. Like inside the magic card, for instance, you're essentially doing a turn-by-turn RPG-esque old-style fight.
Sure.
And it's clear that you're not going to do enough damage to win. But you can't pick the talk option, or you can, but the thing that's with you is like, oh, they're not going to listen, they're not going to do whatever.
Okay.
So you kind of keep hitting until you hit a point where it's like, oh, maybe you should try talking to them, and then you do, and then things work out. And I'm like, so this isn't actually like a fight where I get to make decisions and is of consequence. It's a fight that you've set up as if we're playing a Pokemon battle, but what we're really doing is I'm going to do the things I need to do to trip the whatever flags, and this is just a story beat.
Right. Where it would have been more satisfying to be like you fight, you win, you achieve the thing, and then at that point it's clear that I dropped to one knee, and it's like, and now you have a new option. It says talk, and fight is grayed out. It just says talk, and it'd be like, oh, now I have a brand new thing I've never seen before. It's a new thing I can do. I feel like I finished my fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like stuff like the Punch-Out game, and that one you don't really come across more than once, or if you do, it's like maybe one more time.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, you put a cute little thing in here, but when it feels like it's just a story beat that I'm going through, I feel like I'm playing just a slightly more complicated visual novel, and I'm being made to do work instead of actually playing a game.
You know what that reminds me a bit of, though?
What's that?
Is Retro Game Center for the DS, or Game Center DX, I think is what they might have been known as in Japan.
Okay.
Which is based on the show where there's that Japanese guy who'd never played Super Mario Brothers before.
Mm-hmm.
And so they filmed him playing that, and he's like in his 40s or whatever he was, and he's playing this for the first time. And it's the thing for him, it's him playing a lot of video games, I think for the first time by and large, and that was the whole idea, but they're mostly like retro video games. So the game that they made for the DS is like, it's set in the 1980s and in a living room, and you get a game for your NES or whatever, and it's a extremely simplified version of a very famous game that would have come out in Japan.
Okay.
And you play that very simplified version, and when you do the thing you need to do, you score 50 points, right? And you do that, then there's a bit of a story that outside the game, and then you get another game a little bit later and you put that in, and every time you play a new game, it's a different there's a Game Boy looking game that you'll play, right? And there's an RPG, and there's a little platformer like a ninja platforming game that's very much like one that Nintendo made. And there's a few of these, and then you'll get a better version of that game because the sequel comes out that has more things added to it, and it's different. And so you end up playing the same game again, but now there are new wrinkles that have been introduced into that game. So you get a chance to come back and see how that, how when as gaming was growing, how the complexity of gaming was growing at the same time. And so this game had a bunch of different types of games to play: RPG, platformer, action game, like that kind of thing. The way you described the Plucky Square to me is it's like a lot like Princess Peach Showtime. We'll give you a piece of this thing, of a game style to play, but then we won't bring that back later for you to interact with and make it part of a larger set piece. That now you have to play Punch Out, but you also have to play this other part of the game, which to me is also a bit like Rhythm Heaven, where when they do the remix stages, where it's like all the things come back in.
The remix stages are so good in Rhythm Heaven.
And it's like, and you think that they wouldn't be because it's like it's constantly changing. It's like, no, but you spent all this time building up your expertise in all these individual things that now when you get to do it all together in one fell swoop, it feels like it's a culmination point.
Yeah. Now, there is some really cool stuff aesthetically about the game.
About Plucky Squire.
Yeah, the Plucky Squire, where you're like, again, you were in a book and then you're out of a book and then you run around and you jump, like I said, you jump into like essentially a magic card, but you also jump onto like the side of a mug,
right?
Because there's pictures there.
That's
or
cool.
you jump into a sticky note, and that lets you travel to a different sticky note for some reason.
Neat. All right.
You know, and it's like I said, aesthetically, it's got like a lot going on for it. There's little nitpicks I have, but I did enjoy the game overall.
Nice. I think that's what I heard from everybody. So like, it could be better, but man, it's good.
Yeah, I actually think it's really good, especially for like the first game of a new studio, right? Like there's some stuff going on there. Speaking of stuff that's really good though, Astrobot. this
Game of the year.
Astrobot's my game of the year.
Yeah,
it's so good. I think you really like it.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Did
basically,
so
because
many
I enjoyed
things so
Super Mario
well.
Odyssey, so I'd probably enjoy this too. Like, you know, I enjoyed Kirby, so I'd enjoy this too.
Yeah.
3D platformer, fun.
3D platformer, a
intricate
lot
mechanics.
of fun, really bright and colorful, interesting mechanics that don't ever outstay their welcome. The only thing I really would like more of is more stages. So after you finish like kind of a stage area, you unlock kind of a secret stage thing that is just Astrobot playing a different game.
Ah,
So like the first one is Ape Escape,
right.
and you're just running around catching monkeys.
Okay.
There's another one.
I just thought about Ape Out when you said Ape Escape, and like it's very
Would
different.
have been fun.
Yeah.
But they did one that was just Loco Roco,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is a very different style of game, and I would have liked more of those, just because I think the mechanic of swapping to a completely different game like that, especially one that's clearly meant to be like, oh, you've played this game before, look at all of the things like this is like, is a lot of fun.
So you played 3 games this year that all have within the game have different game mechanics, like over and over. And so Princess Peach Showtime, Plucky Squire, and Astrobot. And
And Astrobot's the one that does it the best.
the thing that people also say is it's a nostalgia cash in or something like that. That it's like everyone will say that, but I haven't seen anyone say it's a bad game because of it. That they're like, this is what this is, and yet it is the most joyous game that we have seen.
Yes.
You know, in years from like. So good on the dev team for being like, we found a way to make this, to tap into that for people.
Yeah, and I mean it's the silly conceit of Astrobot is you're just flying in space on in your PS5 spaceship with all of your robot friends. You're having a party, and some big giant goober of an alien shows up and decides it wants the thing inside of your spaceship, pulls it apart.
Yeah.
You crash land on a planet, everything goes everywhere, and you're just trying to get everything back.
Right.
Just trying to get all your friends back.
It's very
Put your PlayStation 5 back together so that I assume that you can still go back out into space and party. We don't need more than that.
No, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
No. And you can still have really weird things like the giant tree that's going to sing at you. Like and like there's a bunch of levels that are very spooky, right? There's ghosts and you have to like move a flashlight.
I was going to say,
do whatever.
Is it Fatal Frame?
It's more like Luigi's Mansion.
Okay. I was going
in
to
terms of feel.
maybe
with a vacuum
Silent
cleaner.
Hill-ish maybe or something like that. I didn't know where they were going with that. But.
It's not actually creepy.
Okay.
right? It's just like,
Well, it can't-
there's ghosts and things, and it really felt a lot like Luigi's Mansion
Okay.
in terms of walking around and seeing silly ghosts.
I mean, if they can,
and
like,
whatnot.
online artists have found a way to make Silent Hill cute, so I'm sure that Astrobot would have had no problem being like, take Silent Hill, take the trappings of Silent Hill, but make them something cute and fun and engaging, but leave the trappings intact, right? And that might have been a way to come at that, but I just thought if it was like Fatal Frame, where it's like, oh, you have to, and Astrobot has to walk around and take pictures of ghost robots, you know, like that kind of thing would have been funny too, but yeah. Anyway. I'm glad that am glad that that game got Game of the Year at the Game Awards. It did, right?
Yes.
Yes.
There was only one other option I would have accepted.
Which was?
Balatro.
Oh, yeah.
A game I have not played, but I would have accepted that.
Yeah.
The buzz on that, it was very hot. I know people really like it.
Yeah.
I would have accepted that. None of those other games I would have accepted. It wouldn't have mattered if they had won. It's not
No.
like me denouncing them would have done anything. But those were the two games I was willing to accept off that list.
It's funny, too, right? Because it's like all the other games in the Game Awards where it's like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Like, there was a lot of, like, continuing IP games that were part of that. And Astrobot, a completely original, like, IP idea. I mean, it's continuing from two other Astro games, but it's like this is the first game. Like it's their big game, right?
Yeah.
And yet it is nothing but references to other games.
Only on the robots.
Yeah, only on the robots, right? But it's like, it's just packed full of that.
And the extra level, like everything else, it's not like.
It's not you're playing a bunch of extra games.
The creepy levels were never like, oh, this is the Silent Hill level.
Sure.
It's just like,
Okay.
It's maybe where you find Pyramid Head, right?
Yeah.
Those are still all their own.
Right. Their own.
And they could have cribbed.
Right.
Harder.
They could have made it more like those original games and stuff, but just the fact that it's like this game, which is basically loaded with references to other games and has other things going on there, and it wins Game of the Year, but yet it is a fresh game.
Yeah.
It is not a. This is third or fourth or fifth or seventh in a series of things, and it's a remake of the seventh thing in a series, or it's DLC of a thing that already exists, or it's It's like, no, this is
the DLC still gets me.
This is its own thing, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they have this thing where you collect puzzle pieces, and the way they do collectibles in Astrobot is every time you collect a puzzle piece, it fills in stuff on the planet, so you unlock more things.
Nice.
But it's not like
feels good.
If you get the specific puzzle piece from the specific place, it unlocks. It's not like that specific puzzle piece. It's just you got this many gets filled. So you're never doing that thing some games do where if you don't get the exact specific puzzle pieces, this thing won't open. You just have to get an amount of them.
Right. You're just always winning the next puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I quite liked.
Nice.
Like Astrobot, a lot of people will compare Astrobot to Mario because of the platforming, but to me it kind of vibes-wise actually makes me think more of Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Yeah. You're right, actually. Like everything that I've
vibes-wise, right? But like
everything I've seen of it.
Design, I can see more Mario on, but
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I do want to mention Starstruck Hands of Time because Ian and I played it, we really loved it, and it's a really weird game. I think the closest thing you could maybe put it towards is like Earthbound, but I'm not sure that's right. It's a music rhythm game, but there's a lot of just running around and not playing music.
I kind of want.
It's just really weird.
I kind of want to recommend Earthbound again to you, but I know that I feel like it's either on your list or it isn't, for one thing. But for a second thing, even if I just said, spend 2 hours with it, like just sit down and play the first 2 hours and see whether it grabs you or not, I'm like, that's not fair because I feel like you wouldn't like
The first 2 hours?
No, you would like. I think you would. The thing is, like, I think you would love it. But I think you would be like, if it was not your thing, you'd be mad that like I put 2 hours into this game and now I want to see it through to the end, but it's not grabbing me the way that I want, and I'm just going to feel angry about having because it'd be like if anybody else recommended a game to me that's like, well, I think you should play this anyway. And it's like, I don't give a shit about Dark Souls. But you should play it anyway. And I'm like, okay. And so then I go and I play Dark Souls and I play for 2 hours and I'm like, I get why you might like this, but I'm actually just, like, now that I want to know more about what's going on in this game, but I actually don't give a shit about this game still. I end up having that kind of reaction to things. It's like, I don't want to sit here and have to play through the rest of it to find out what's going on.
I prefer to get through to the end of a game in terms of, like, getting the majority of the story. Just to see.
Yeah.
And I do like to get, especially an RPG, I like to give more time into than, say, maybe a shorter indie title or something, just because RPGs can be slow to start. When you have a thing that's hundreds of hours, it feels unfair to only give it like 2 to start with because it has so much more setup it has to do before maybe it really gets going.
Fair. Yeah.
That said, I have DNF'd a couple games this year.
What did you DNF then?
I DNF'd...
Did not finish, for anyone who's wondering what we mean by that.
This Way Lies Madness, which was a RPG-style game where you got to play magical girls based on Shakespeare plays.
Well, that seems like it might be your jam, actually.
Yeah, I was really bored.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So...
This is not to say any of these games are bad, obviously, but,
and the other one, Baldo. I played, essentially, it's supposed to be kind of like this Zelda-alike game.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
You, the version I have is... Because it's like when the game first came out, the reviews I saw of it were like, it's not bad, but it's not polished, and they didn't review well. And then they did a bunch of fixes, they added a bunch of content, and I saw a review come in that a person re-reviewed it, and they said, oh, it's much better now. It's got all this stuff. And maybe it's just the section I played because I popped it open and there were like 4 things for me to choose from to play.
Oh, okay.
And so I picked the first one because it was the first in the list. It's definitely DLC. It's probably a prologue to the game. And I played it, and I just got frustrated by a lot of things with it. I had to go get the sword, essentially, because you got to start with a sword.
Sure.
I fought a giant plant thing. The sword popped up in the middle of a lake, and I couldn't figure out how to... Now that I've defeated the plant thing, I couldn't just walk into the middle of the lake because there were fences all around the middle of the lake, and I had to find a secret passage in from this other thing, but I didn't see it right away, and I just kind of was like, I don't understand why I've defeated a thing and I can't just actually have the sword from the thing I've defeated. Like, why do I have to walk all the way around to find the secret entrance to get into this lake to pick up this thing?
How did that enhance my experience?
It's just stuff like that I found very frustrating. And because I couldn't find that way, I was walking around for ages.
Sure.
And I streamed it too. And I was just like, I actually looked it up.
Yeah.
And I was getting to a point where I was like, we're not going to play this anymore.
Right.
So I DNF'd it in the sense of, like, I haven't actually played the core game.
Okay.
I played DLC that's, like, I think a prologue to it, but I'm assuming that's still more of what it's gonna be like. There was just, like, a lot of back and forth travel that I didn't feel like was necessary. So, yeah.
So despite improvements...
Especially because if I want to do everything in that game wants, like, 30 to 60 hours of my time. And I really didn't want to do that. I have not technically DNF'd another Crab's Treasure. I just haven't finished it. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm supposed to go, and it's been a while since I've played it. I don't consider DNFing a game unless I've actually declared it.
Fair.
That's not. I'm probably going to play that off stream.
So normally at 4 p.m. we're going offline because Paul needs to be ready. Like
He's
he needs
not
to
here.
have a break so he can get ready.
I don't need to get ready for that, do you?
for Fun Puff, and we don't need to get ready for that, so we can go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I think that's completely fine.
Oh, I did play Little Inferno the other night.
I don't know what that is.
It's a game where you burn things.
Oh, that's right. Yes, okay. You never told me the name of the game. You just said, I was just burning things. And I'm like, I'm glad you were having a good night.
I told you.
And then you're like, and it's sad. I'm like, well, that's...
Oh, it's sad.
That's indie games for
It's
you.
sad, all right.
All I could do is just empty the dishwasher or load the dishwasher and just start getting sad about thinking about what this game is like. And then I finally said, this game is sad, isn't it? And you're like, yeah, it eventually is. It starts to get sad. And I'm like,
okay.
yeah.
Eventually.
yeah.
If you think about it for more than a minute about what you're doing and the things that pop up, it's just sad. But mechanically, you're just burning a bunch of things in a fireplace.
There's something very different to me about, like, if I was in a game where the idea was I was running around and accomplishing shit and I was burning stuff in the process of doing it, but I was accomplishing a whole bunch of stuff and I was burning things. Like Control would be an idea about this thing where it's like, I can pick stuff up with my mind, I can throw it, and I can destroy this entire building by doing whatever. It's like, that's acceptable to me because it works within the framework of what I've been given as a game. But if the idea of the game was like, so I'm sitting at home and what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to using my mind, I'm going to look across the street and I'm just going to start pulling bricks out of this other building and I'm going to make the building fall down. I'd be like, that just is so melancholic to me. That's like, and then I just make this building fall and then I'll just start doing it to another one. And I'm like, it's pointless destruction. And to what end? It's like, because I am sad. I am sad about my life. And so I'm going to start doing it to my house. I'm going to make my whole house fall down around me as well. And then I'll have nowhere to live.
I mean,
I'm like, oh, good.
I'm going to level with you. A lot of the games I play, especially the indie ones, I mean, this one at least wasn't about depression, but most of them tend to be sad if you think about them for too long.
You literally gave me a game that you knew was going to be sad and said, here, you should play this game. It'll be fun.
Well, yeah.
I get to see how sad I get. We'll see. Maybe I won't be that sad.
I just, I knew you would like it because of the framing of everything.
Yeah? I had to run around last night, and I had to run back and forth between the honeybee village and the honey bear village, delivering a box, delivering wood so they could make a box that could fill it with honey so that they could put scents in it so that they could drive off ant gobblers. And I was just like, oh, this sucks. Like, it was just walking back and forth. There's no fast travel between the two villages, right?
Yeah.
So you walk back, and I don't even know if you did all these kindness acts when you were playing the game or not.
I think I did most of them, but I also just left a lot of them.
Oh, I'm going to do all of them.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but that one sucked.
That's why I'm glad you're having fun with the game, because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you would enjoy it from the mechanic standpoint.
To the
of
point
something.
where what I was doing was I was like, okay, if I put the thing on my lap, if I put the controller on my lap and I put my one thumb on here and I have the other thing on A, then I can read my phone and I can walk from side to side and hit A when I get to the end. If I have to fight anything, then I'll just stop. I'll queue up guard because it'll be things that if they attack you 5 times, that they'll go into their weakness state. And I'll just keep doing that and I'll read my phone, read memes. Oh, smack. I heard the sound effect that means they've gone into their weakness state. So then I'll do the whole, okay, now release them so they can run away. And then I can go, I don't have to fight. It would be faster if I fought them, but if I let them go, they better chance them dropping treasure chests and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, there's games I've played where I just run because it's faster than going through the fighting.
Yeah. It would,
especially if it's not important.
It would have been better for me to just like spam A to just be like attack, whatever. And I did not. And I'm just like, but it's fine. I finished that quest and I got a special I got the Dreamer perfume, which if I'm ever attacked by ant gobblers ever again, I can use that unlimited times. It never runs out, and I can use it to put them all to sleep, which means the fighting will be way easier. So I'm like, this is kind of worth it, but only ant gobblers, they only show up in the honey crystal woods anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to care about that. Other games I played this year, I think didn't I play, was it this year, no, it was 2023 that I played Shiro and Shin-chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation, the Endless 7-Day Journey.
Right. You played the other one,
I played Shiro and the
This
Coal
year.
Town this year.
which you did. You did do a bonus stream on, and then you
Yes.
finished it.
I took it home and I played the rest of it, and I finished it. And I did not 100% it because to 100% it, you need to finish the final. Like, there's a big race that you're gonna have, like the race that culminates to finish the game. And you're like, Beach, there's racing in this game? It's like, yeah. In fact, you don't know about any of that until you are about 3/4 of the way done the game, and the racing is required for you to you have to learn how to do the minecart racing so you can finish the game. And the nice thing is that the minecart racing at the very end of the game, like, because there's actual minecart racing where it's like there's prizes involved, you have to do whatever. The actual race you do at the end of the game does not depend upon you doing prizes. It just depends upon you finding all like materials that you can make a cool cart out of it. Because ultimately this thing is very much like a dream. Do I remember how the game ends? It's essentially you figure out that, or rather, you, the player, realize that you might have been in a dream state this whole time, except the dream state is real because when you come out of the dream state, you have things from the dream state. So maybe it wasn't a dream at all. Maybe you were actually traveling through some sort of weird portal to allow you to do things. It's not really clear on that. The end of the game is you leave and you go home back to where you live, because the whole point is to restore the game back to the way Shin-chan works in the anime, that you have to go home. This is home, but it's only home for as long as it takes you to finish the game, and then eventually, and it's like, now you can go home again. Was it fun? Yeah, I had a lot of fun collecting bugs, and except to the point where you need to find the very last bug. But
you played this one, and you played the professor one,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Did you like? Are they about the same to you, or did you like one better than the other?
I think I like Shiro and the Cold Town better for having a little bit more. Like Me and the Professor and Summer Vacation had some fantastical stuff in that. I like Shiro and the Cold Town for having more fantastical stuff. I didn't like the fact that the kart racing thing just seemed so late, that it should have been something that was introduced earlier to
like,
kind
from
of
what I
get
saw
you
you
familiar
play
with
of
it.
both of those
I liked
games,
it better.
The newer one had basically looked a lot like the older one.
Yeah.
Had maybe some different stuff in it.
Yeah.
But also looked like they kind of added more polish and
Yes.
like a few more camera angles and things, because they already kind of had everything set up from the previous one.
Yeah. That's, I think, really like working the same thing in engine. This is all Millennium Kitchen, I think, still anyway. And they already brought out Natsumon 20th Century Boy, which is the Boku no Natsuyasumi, but for the Switch. So the newest version of that game, which I have on my list to download, waiting for a sale for it. But having played both of the Shin-chan games, I'm not that excited to play Natsumon. I'm not that excited to play because I'm like, I think this is a game I only want once a year anyway.
Sure.
And I need to definitely like play other games so that I don't feel like I'm only ever playing one style of game.
Yeah. I mean, we've hit to like the end of 2024. There's some stuff that we kind of know that's around for next year.
Yeah.
Because, there's some bigger games have been said that, 2025 or whatever.
Yeah.
But Nintendo has a new system potentially coming out at some point.
Yeah, we'll probably hear
They
about it in
haven't talked
March.
at all about what they have coming out
Yeah.
in terms of games.
I think we're going to
next
hear about it
year.
in March, yeah. I have, so you and I both have Deku Deals, the app.
Yeah.
DEKU Deals, Deku Deals. Great website. I'm glad you told me about it. Glad they made an iOS app. I wish they had. I would pay to remove ads from it. The ads don't matter. They just run to the bottom of the screen. You'll barely see them.
They're very they don't intrude that much.
They're just there to basically complement the fact that you're, it's like, oh, they're releasing this for free, and I'm like, dude, I'll just give you $3 or $5 or whatever, and I don't have to have ads in this thing if you don't want. But they don't fill up your screen or do whatever. on my wish list, I have the Castlevania Collections bundle,
Yep.
which is the Castlevania something collection, the Advanced collection, and the Dominus collection. So it's all the NES and Super Nintendo games, then the Game Boy Advance games, and then the Dominus collection is the DS games.
Yeah, and this is for Switch.
Yeah, and it's $35 right now for all of those, which is cheaper than getting all three of them, which are also on sale separately currently.
Yes.
And I have that on my list as a thing of you have until January to buy this, and I'm like, I should buy this.
Why?
Because I liked those games and I own most of them.
So you want to play them again?
Absolutely not.
So why?
Right. That's the problem.
Especially a digital copy.
Especially a digital copy that would only live on my Switch.
Yeah.
And so there's that thing of like, why do you want this so bad? I'm like, because then I can play them. And I'm like, you're not going to play them. I'm like, I know, but I can play them. It's like, yeah, you're not going to play them.
Yeah.
The only Castlevania game that you haven't played is Symphony of the Night for a very good reason. And I have that on iOS, and I tried mirroring it to my tele. If they would make it on fucking Apple TV, then I would actually play it because I would just hook up a controller to it and I would play it. I have the Shadowrun trilogy for NES. Yep. It's on sale right now for $13. I feel like I should buy that over the collections bundle, not because it's cheaper.
But because you might actually play it?
No, because I or maybe, I don't know, but because Harebrained Games did a great job of those games.
Sure.
I think I backed the Shadowrun Hong Kong Kickstarter, in fact, too. And I'm just like, I would love to give them a little bit more money.
Okay.
I don't want to give them $70 for 3 games I played already, but it's like giving them maybe another $15 is like kind of like saying, I support that you did this. I'm going to buy another copy of this.
Okay.
And maybe it rekindles an interest in somebody being like, I should make more Shadowrun RPGs. I don't know. But
I wouldn't do it for that last reason.
Yeah, because that doesn't tell anybody.
That doesn't tell anyone anything.
Somebody bought a copy of 3 copies of your game or whatever.
It's just the time in which you're buying it doesn't really translate to that.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to support that thing and I'd do whatever. Great. Yeah. I'm not trying to be harsh on you
No.
in terms of like, because I understand the feeling of like, what, I'll just buy this and then I'll play it later, or maybe I won't, but I want to have it.
Yeah.
Those are the questions you have to ask yourself to stop yourself from doing things, right?
Yes.
Like I actually use, one of the things I'll do when I see games go on sale that I've been thinking about picking up for a long time, there's that instant pull of I should buy that now because look at how good the deal is.
Yes.
So because Deku Deals does a graph that shows you how often that game goes on sale. If I look at the graph and I see that game goes on sale probably once every like 3 months or so, you're probably gonna have to back it off.
Every few months this game goes on sale.
If that game seems to be going on sale like repetitively every couple months, then I can convince myself not to buy it, at least until maybe the next time when I might actually want to play it because it's going to be on sale later.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I do have on my list that I haven't played is the Axiom Verge 1 and 2 bundle, which is like $11, which is cheaper than buying them both separately. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I was never meaning to buy Axiom Verge because I don't know if I love the aesthetic of the first one. Mm. The second one seems like it's a lot brighter, and I was like, maybe I will enjoy that because it is like looks like a brighter color scheme or whatever. I don't know. And I haven't played them, so I don't. But I know that they're supposed to be Metroid style. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that might be fun. Maybe it's worth dropping $11 on the bundle to get them both to try each of them out to see if I like them or not. But yeah, Castlevania Anniversary Collection is the name of the first one. That's right. I even have Sundered on here, which I almost finished because it's $3.41 right now, and I was just like, maybe I should pick up Sundered to install on my Switch so that I can get my save game back up and I can finish it. And I think like that I'm not going to. It's the same thing with Golf Story. It's like I've got it on here so I can eventually buy a copy and finish it, but I don't think I'm going to.
I feel like if I ever want to play Sundered again, I'm going to have to start over.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long, and I know I didn't finish it. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something new and shiny probably came along.
Right.
And part of me is like, I should go back and do that. But there's so many other games on my list that I kind of want to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a hard time picking between a game I want to actually stream versus a game I just want to play on my own sometimes, because I only stream at home about once a week. And so if I want to play a longer game, I sometimes just don't want to stream it just so that I can get through it faster.
Right.
But at the same time, I do want to share it. So I don't know. It gets.
I mean, that's what I liked
hard.
about with Shiro in the Cold Town is I was like, I'm going to share that, and then I'm going to go home and play it myself, because I'm like, I don't intend to make this a piff or a bonus stream or recurring or whatever. It's like, I just want to show it off to people, especially because it was sponsored, right? That it was like, or not sponsored, like, we provided you a code to play it. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I will take the code. I will show it off in at least one stream, and that'll be fine. And it was fun. It was nice to be able to do that, right? They didn't ask me to do that, but I was like, I'm just going to show it off because it is a sequel to the game I played already once. Another game, though, that I found, because I love Kunio-kun.
Yeah.
The aesthetic more, I think, than a lot of all the games and stuff.
That's fair.
I bought the bundle, and I haven't actually played anything in it. I've never played River City Ransom in my life, which is Downtown Neketsu Monogatari. But River City Saga 3 Kingdoms, so they made a Kunio-kun game that is another like Jidaigeki, another period piece, but it's not based on like Japanese period piece. It's based on Romance of Three Kingdoms. And all the Kunio-kun people are, again, playing roles of the Romance of the Three Kingdom part. And that's on sale for $20. It's normally $40. And I'm like, that is something I should buy, because I think I would get around to playing it, because I liked playing the original, the 2 River City games that came out for 3DS were great. And the fact that you found physical copies of them was awesome. My wife is so good at this for me. And as I was looking at this on Deku Deals, I found out that they are releasing Three Kingdoms next. They're releasing a second Kunio-kun Three Kingdoms game like this coming year. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Okay, so maybe I should pick up the first one and play it and see if I like it or not. So, yeah. Well. I guess I did play River City Ransom in the fact that I played the 3DS remake of it. Mm-hmm. So I guess that kind of does count. But man, they were both that and Rival Showdown wasn't as good, but it had some improvements, which was nice. So, and I'm kind of waiting on Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake to see if I'm want to pick that up or not. But
yeah, like the thing I do in my list, like I said, I had 37 games I played through. What I've made is a list that's like, these are the games you purchased in 2024. Here's the games you played through in 2024. You'll see that I have...
I feel like that's very smart, actually.
See that I have a bunch that are kind of like marked and highlighted. Those are the ones that I bought this year that I played this year. Because my whole thing is to try to stop myself from buying more games when I'm not done other games. Which clearly I don't always do. But because sometimes you have the intention.
But it is nice to see a reminder of the fact that it's like you did spend money on all these things this year. Yeah.
I bought 49 games this year. Actually, 50. I haven't updated this.
Fair.
Which is actually a lot less than last year.
Did you count Mario Wonder and Mario and Luigi Brothership as part of games that you purchased this year?
I should count Mario Wonder. I won't count Mario and Luigi, because I'm not likely to play that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
And also those were technically gifts for you.
Boy, I know, yeah, but at the same time, like they're physical games and they live on our shelf, so we'll both play them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I know you're not going to play Saints Row 4.
Not on Switch.
You would play it on Steam?
I might. I mean, it's not really in my list of I want to do that right now or anything. So I'll probably never actually get to it. But it's not a game that I look at and like, man, I never want to play that.
Oh, fair.
It's just more of a, I have other things I have more interest in.
I own the digital copy for Switch, and then when I saw the used price had dropped to $20, I picked up a used copy of Saints Row 4 as well for the Switch.
And I mean, some of these things just aren't fair, because like Curse to Golf, I'm not sure I'll ever actually be able to beat. I did play it. I started it.
Right.
It's a roguelike with golfing.
Right.
Through platformer levels. I love the concept, but it's probably not happen.
So Peach with Az, they're playing River City Girls. They got to finish River City Girls 2. We have to start River City Girls 2.
Yes.
Yeah, at some point.
Rogue Legacy 2, I'm almost actually through a playthrough on, but Kane's really hard, and I don't know if that's happening. We'll see.
Be nice if we had a
Eventually.
physical version of that, because then we could trade that back and forth when we felt
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
What else is on here that I'm like, this is probably... I rebought the Zero Escape games because I've got them on... I think I got them on Steam because if I want to... They've updated them so there might be easier to get through than if I play them on the DS when I have the originals.
Better guides and...
So
and
again, I do rebuy stuff
route
that I've
tracking,
got
yeah.
technically.
That's good. That's good.
On here. Oh, right. I bought We Love Katamari reroll, which I haven't gotten to because I was like, but it's Katamari.
What'd you buy that for?
Um,
Steam? Say Steam.
Switch.
Do I not own a copy of We Love Katamari Reroll physical?
No, this is a different one.
Oh, this is the new
Yeah.
Reroll.
This, also, I
like
got it.
Reroll
I think
Plus
I
Deluxe
got
or something.
that. I think I got that digitally.
Fair. Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, I can mark off Little Inferno. I did play that.
Nice.
I got fitness boxing for Hatsune Miku. I'm not sure that technically has a credits end sequence.
Yeah.
So some of these are unfair in terms of like.
I
that
feel like
happens.
though you should be able to go in and you should highlight them or mark them with a star, something to be like, I have played enough of this that I have essentially finished it. Like I have played enough of it to have really experienced the game.
Oh, probably.
Even though you're not going to stop playing it, so because you never are going to stop playing all like Project Mirai
Yeah,
or whatever. The
and I mean, I bought Marvel's Midnight Suns because it was really really cheap. But like I bought it like near the end of the year, and there was no way that was going to happen by the end of this year.
No, fair. Yeah.
Like yeah. But typically, I try to not buy these things unless. Well, okay. My Next Life as a Villainess was because I wanted that physically, and I didn't know if there would be copies of
Sorry,
that.
what? You have what?
My Next Life as a Villainess, all routes lead to Doom.
You bought that for Switch?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Of course I
didn't.
did.
I didn't know it came out in English.
Yes.
Huh?
It's got pirates.
Yeah.
I've been
Right,
saving
it's a
that
side
as-
story. It's a side story.
I've been saving that as my cozy game. I'm not
Oh,
streaming that.
that's
That's
fine.
for me.
Yeah.
I was gonna do it. I was gonna play it during Desert Bus, but I was still kind of burnt out from filming from Vampire. So I was like, no. And that's the problem with that one is I keep saving it for the perfect time.
Right.
Yeah.
I had actually, what's funny is that earlier this year on my countdown it said, "Oh, you spent X number of hours in Tears of the Kingdom." I'm like, no, I didn't. I spent like hundreds of hours in Tears of the Kingdom, and I realized that Tears of the Kingdom came out in 2023,
yeah.
and that's where I spent all my time playing it for months. And I was just the last bit was me finishing the game this year, which I still think best stream I ever did, at least in recent memory, was 8 hours the day it drops, playing nothing but the starter islands, jumping off at the end and being like, "We're done," and cutting to like credits and just
Yeah.
like visually, or like, that's it, folks. Like the game has now the game truly begins, and it's just like doing that to kind of like seed whatever, and then being like, and now I jump out of here, not knowing what else was coming in the game was just amazing.
I bought this. I'm mentioning this because I think it's funny. I bought One Step from Eden for Switch digitally.
Okay.
I don't know a thing about this game. All I know is Wheeler played it and hated it, and it was on sale really cheap. And my brain said, "I bet I could do better." I don't make smart gaming decisions. I just make really weird ones.
This is Hosk is an interesting question. So in your head, are these all games that you think you will get around to playing, or are they games that you would like to have? Which I think is interesting because like the Castlevania collections for me is like purchasing that, which is purchasing like the Anniversary Collection. I don't have most of those games, and in fact, I don't think I have any of those games like in a physical copy or whatever. Buying that would make sense for me to have that if I want to have all those games, but it only makes sense for me to buy those games because I would want to play them again. I feel like owning a game is about making a promise to yourself that you do want to play it. Case in point, I just bought a copy, physical copy, because it was very expensive. It's $25. It's coming on Monday. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
I'm gonna play that.
Good. I'm glad, because
That's been on my list of I want to play for a while.
I keep hemming and hawing because I hear it's a fantastic game. People really like it. You need an Ubisoft account in order to play it. And when I downloaded the demo and I'm like, hell yeah, gonna play this game, give it a try. Mad at Ubisoft's whatever, but I still really want to play this game. And so you do that thing where you're like, yes, but I don't play all of Ubisoft's. It sucks to be a gamer, right? Things suck. But anyway, I'm like, oh, I'll play this. I want to see whether it's any good or not, whether it's up my alley. Because maybe it's not. And in the demo, you have to sign in with an Ubisoft account. And I just saw that, and I went like cancel, and then I tried again to get logged. I tried to start the game without doing it, whatever. And it's like, no, you can't literally get past the screen where it's like you have to do this. It's like you have to
you have to
make
have
an account or have an account and log in. And I said, oh, and I just dropped back to the home menu and immediately deleted the demo. And I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm like, don't make me make a new account to play your game, because I'm a Nintendo gamer, and that is not a thing that a lot of games do for Nintendo, right?
For a while. Well, no, they kind of do now, but like for a while, when you were playing games on like the Wii U and the Wii, those same games, if they existed on like PC, you had to have your account, but it didn't interact in the Nintendo space, so you could just play it without.
Right.
But they don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore.
That's not how things work anymore.
And so there was this sense that I had where I was like, well, I'm mad at the fact that they want me to have an account to play this thing. Mm-hmm. But this game is also really good. And this game also like is very cheap right now, even for a brand new copy. It's $25. And it's probably not going to go cheaper than that unless I find it used somewhere. And even then it'll be only $20 probably for like the longest time. So I was like, I'll buy a copy, and hopefully at some point I will get my head around whether I want to do it this way or not. And then now hearing that you're saying you want to play it, I'm like, oh,
yeah, I mean,
money well spent.
Yeah, so in my head, if I'm buying a game, it's because I do intend to get around to playing it. Full stop.
Yeah.
I sometimes buy games that I have less interest in because I have friends who've like really hyped it up, and I've decided I'll just spend the money and try.
Right.
And maybe I don't get to it right away or not. I do rebuy games. So when I rebuy a game, like I said, I bought the Zero Escape games again.
Yes.
Even though I own them in the original forms, because my understanding is they're a little bit easier.
This is $9.99 in Virtue's Last Reward.
Yeah. Easier is maybe like a weird thing. It sounds like there's some quality of life updates that lets you like skip through the story portions instead of having to replay the entire story again.
Which is incredibly necessary.
That's how those games work. You find out more information by playing through the story again.
Yeah, but to have to play through all the scenes that you would have gone through, it's like I already know this part of the story. I want to skip this.
That's my understanding of it.
Next decision point. Yeah.
So I've repurchased them because quality of life adjustments.
Yeah.
I repurchase on occasion. Generally, it's been Zelda games when they get remakes, even though I've played them before.
Right.
Because that's just a series I really like, to the point where I want the new thing.
Yeah.
My intent is still probably to do a replay with the new version, though.
Right. I have never done that. Wind Waker HD remake, I never played. Twilight Princess remake, I never played. Skyward Sword remake, I never played. I'm like, I am done with those games, but I'm very happy to. I would have, if you hadn't bought them, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that I do that. Most of the time when I buy a game, it's the intention is I intend to play it at some point.
I really want to
play it all the way through. That's a different question. Ideally, if it's a game I'm really excited about, ideally I have the hopes that I'm going to play it all the way through. Unless it's one of those games where I'm like, so and so said this was really good. I'm trying this out for the first time. Like I have the new Dragon Age game,
right? Because
I was able to get that because I've never played one before. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
It's fair.
It'll be a bit.
The only Zelda remake I've ever replayed or the only Zelda remake I've played for a game that I already did play was Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
And it was because it was such a radical departure from the look of the original. And I was like, I actually do really want to play this in full color with the cute little tilt shift aesthetic. Shit, if they did that with Legend of Zelda, the original NES, even if they didn't do the tilt shift thing, if they just made a 16-bit version of it. And I think that I would love to see, like, I think it would be a swing for the fences thing, but for them to take Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and say, let's update that, whether it's going to be 16-bit style or whether it's going to be tilt shift style or whatever they want to do, but take Adventure of Link and say, we're going to update that, we're going to make a shit ton of improvements, we're going to dump in more story to it, just make things easier overall to kind of interface with, but not remove the gameplay bits of it. I'd love to see a swing like that, to be like, let's see if this is of interest to people, because I bet you could probably catch some people to do that. But
yeah, I think the only Zelda games I've really don't care about rebuying if they bring them out is the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons.
yeah,
I've actually been super down on those games. Well, okay, the one that I played, I got to play the other one still.
I think Minish Cap would be interesting with a graphical update that made it feel like just higher resolution.
Yeah,
but it still has the same.
I'd want
look.
that like in the same way that they updated Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Right. I want it to feel like you remember.
Yeah, or like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. That those would be the same kind of thing. I'd want them to feel like 3D top down, but still in the Toon Link style, that kind of thing. But
we should finish up.
Yeah.
I think we've talked plenty.
Oh, so much. There have been questions in chat. I'm going to count down from 10. You can ask another question, and if we see a good one go by, then we'll answer it. So 10.
All right.
9.
No, please.
8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. What is for dinner tonight? I don't know yet. We made spaghetti last night, and it was fantastic.
Spaghetti,
we should just have more of
leftovers,
that. Yeah.
so we could probably just eat leftovers.
Yeah.
Do you want to do sushi for like the 31st?
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say tonight, and I was like, I could maybe go get sushi.
No,
but
not tonight.
I think maybe for the 31st, I'll have to look to see if they're open.
31st is like Tuesday?
I was thinking about order Fujiya sushi.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if they're open. If they're not, then we'll try another. But I think try to do sushi
we should do
for the
something
31st,
fun for the 31st.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. Thank you to everybody for being here today. And there's a multitude of ways that you can support us. And because Heather set up the stream, I'll let her tell you all the ways that you can support us.
You can go to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun if you'd like to support us with dollary dues, or you can go to store.loadingreadyrun.com if you would like to exchange those dollary dues for physical goods. You could also become a member on YouTube if that is a thing that you wish to do, or give super thanks or whatever it is that YouTube does. You can give us money on Twitch or subscribe to Twitch, twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. There's other streams that happen here. You can find many of them over the whole schedule over at loadingreadyrun.com/live. You can also find that people stream from here, stream at home. I personally stream at twitch.tv/lunarjade, but if you want to find everybody else, you can go to twitch.tv/team/loadingreadyrun, and there'll be a list there, unless you see the list that's in the Twitch chat right now. There's so many places you can do things.
In fact, we just talked about interacting with other members of the team, and you don't have to confine yourself to just watching a stream. You know that we are on Discord. Discord.gg/LRR is the official Loading Ready Run Discord. Drop in there, make an account, say hi to people there, hang out. The whole community, like a whole bunch of people, thousands and thousands of fans of Loading Ready Run have signed up for that. And by all means, drop in there, have conversations for lurk content or otherwise. We have so many different channels and so many different ways to interact with people. You might also want to see us on social media, actual good, interesting social media, such as Mastodon or cheap fucking Twitter knockoff like Blue Sky. You know, I don't have a horse in this game whatsoever. We are Loading Ready Run at kind.social. So if you go to kind.social on Mastodon, you will find us there. And on Blue Sky, we are also loadingreadyrun.com. So you can find us on Blue Sky as well. Apparently there is a follow pack, like a starter pack that consists of people who have Blue Sky accounts.
Yeah,
I won't be in that. but you can find that starter pack linked, I think, from
Beach doesn't
loadingready.com.
like blue sky. It's
Not a
very
fan,
clear.
but it's fine. I'm glad.
Whatever.
I'm glad we're there instead of other places. So I'm cool with that. You know,
Ooh,
like
I like that quote.
what's that?
Heather was correct.
That's a good one.
Jacob said that in 2022. I wonder if he still feels that way.
A lot of us are on Mastodon, in addition to Loading Ready Run as well. And if you poke around or ask around, you will find everybody who is on. I even moved to kind.social. I'm not on Octodon anymore because it's closing down in April. So I'm now at Beej at kind.social. We have a master contact list. Holy crap, I didn't know that. lrr.cc/contact
Yeah.
is apparently a place you can contact all sorts of people and
It's where
meet us about stuff.
The social medias are. Don't talk to me on social media.
I had somebody
Talk to you.
asked me a question about the store, about their order on Mastodon.
Sure.
And I responded to them to say, yes, here's that's the thing. If you have a problem with your order, asking me directly is not great because I don't do customer service for the store, but I can help. But there is a LRR store at pmcfulfillment.com would be part of your order. So you could just go. You should be emailing them to ask about stuff.
If you have
But
ordered something, they
yeah.
have sent you an email. If you have a problem with your order, that email will tell you where to do.
Try there first and see if you can get the
it's
response
best to
you
check
need.
there first.
They're very good at helping people out because, in fact, despite the fact that it
He's
was
just so bad at an outro.
despite the fact that it was Christmas, they got back to him and gave him an answer that he
Good.
needed. And I'm like, that's what I love about where we do our work. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. So yeah, that's.
You're not on any of these places on the internet. Neat. Good
Yeah.
for you.
You don't have to
I'm-
be in places.
I think that's amazing.
I'm just glad that you're here.
But we're going to go now. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.